Yeah, ref. That she got the ball. Good evening, Tottenham fans. Welcome back to the Irish Hotspur with your boys, Dave and Jack, bringing you your Monday night phone-in show. Anyone with the fan show membership or higher, the link is up in the community section for you guys to come on and have your say. And boy, do we have a lot to talk about after that gutless, spineless performance that showed absolutely zero passion in my eyes in that game, especially to try and get back into it in that North London derby. That's now 3 home North London derby defeats on the bounce. One thing I'm absolutely sick of, sorry, we'll get Jack in one moment. One thing I'm absolutely sick of is it doesn't matter what squad we've had, you always have players coming out. We know what these games mean to the fans. You know, we're going to do this for the fans. And then two things that pissed me off yesterday, I'm sitting there looking, no wonder why we didn't win this derby, no wonder why there's no passion. You had fucking Pedro Porro, you know, giving David Ray a big hug and all that sort of jazz right before the teams walk out onto the pitch in what is supposed to be a heated North London derby where both sets of fans have no time for each other. They hate each other. And you have these guys embracing each other like they're lovers. It's absolutely embarrassing. Then you see James Maddison having a little chuckle with Arteta during the game. If anyone takes the mind back to when Højbjerg was here, he squared up to that fucker. You know, he's seen what it meant to those fans. You see James Maddison joking with him. I'm absolutely sick of the lip service that we get from players at Tottenham Hotspur. I'm absolutely fed up with it. Another thing I'm absolutely sick of is, you know, where we're at constantly with our managers all the time. Get this manager in, you know, keep him in, get him out, etc., etc., etc. You know, it's becoming absolutely draining. It's not even becoming fun supporting this football club anymore because we lose more than we win, you know, over the last 4 years. And it's really becoming draining. All I want is a team that can get on the fucking football pitch and start giving us some results and some performances consistently. It's not hard to ask for. Us fans, every single game, we're bloody there. But then any team, any manager that's at this football club, it seems it's all right. They can rock up, you know, and just see what happens. I'm sick of it. These guys need to start getting pressure on this, on the players, on the manager, and on the football club. From now on, we should not be tolerating any more shit. We've been through it now the last 4 years. These guys now have to start performing, and I'm sick of it. Sorry. I'm just absolutely fed up. I'm furious after that game yesterday, Jacko.
No apology necessary, Dave. I mean, it should be, you know, the other way around. We should be getting apologies from the club, from the players, from pretty much everybody involved yesterday. It was, in my opinion, in certain periods, a decent performance, but I'm kind of tired. That's one thing I'm getting sick of is sort of complimenting parts of the performance without there actually being the result to show for it, really. And there's only so many times that I can even repeat myself when it comes to that. I'm getting tired of repeating some of the same things after every game. I feel like I've had sort of the same narrative from every single performance. It feels like similar reasons for why we keep losing, why we don't end up picking up the points that I feel like we deserve. And I'm getting very tired of that because I don't like to be able to repeat myself. I actually wish there was some more variation, to be honest, in the performances. And there hasn't been a lot that's changed, but no apology necessary on your point. Very, very good passion shown there. And hopefully we get some from the rest of the fan show members today because it's not easy after a result like that, especially this many times in a row, losing at home in the North London derby. It's usually the case where it feels like kind of it's you know, when you're at home for the North London derby, it should feel like, you know, it's a fortress. It should feel like it should be near impossible for the opposition to get anything from it. You know, you're pretty confident usually of at least 3 points or at least a really close contest. And for the most part, it was a close contest. But now that it's 3 in a row, it's just become really sickening and it's heartbreaking as well. And we need a must win against Coventry City. That probably might be brought up by some of the fans, but it's not a great start to the season, in my opinion. I think we played well, but I'm tired of saying that. You know, I keep giving us the played well trophy, and I would like to have, you know, a different thing to be talking about. And I'm also sick of plenty of it, but looking forward to seeing what other people have to say on this all. Course.
No, 100%. It just feels like to me we're going around in circles. You know, we bring in a new manager, we get that initial manager bounce. It's a temporary fix. Then the same old problems start haunting us again. You know, we sit here talk about us defensively. We had them problems under Jose and Conte, even though they were defensive-minded managers. We sit here talking about set pieces. If anyone takes your mind back to Conte and Jose, it was also a massive problem. You know, it's just the same issues every single time after the initial manager bounce comes in. I'm absolutely fed up of finding ourselves in this position. You know, man, look, you know, and it's hard to even know where to pinpoint the blame because some things the manager asks, some stuff the manager or the critics ask of the manager or pinpoint about the manager are true, but then also, you look at some of the players as well. They also have to take accountability. But at this football club, we've changed nearly absolutely everything. We've changed coaches, playing squad, managers, the fucking scouting department, and we still find ourselves here. I'm absolutely sick of it. There's only so much you can take, and I really hope that these players get out there Wednesday night and do not. If you don't want to do it for the manager, if you don't want to do it for Daniel Levy, at least do it for us guys that fucking back you week in, week out and turn up for every single game. At least do it for us. One thing Tottenham was always a good cup team. No excuses to not go out there and beat a championship side tomorrow. I don't give a shite if they ran United close in the FA Cup last season. There's no excuses for it. You're on double their wages. You get double the comfort they do. You're playing in front of bigger crowds, better training ground, etc., etc. No excuse for it whatsoever. Anyway, let's welcome some people in before I blow my lid, and then we'll start talking to other people, because I've just had my full of Tottenham Hotspur, and it's a shame because I actually wanted to go into this week with a lot of excitement. I really thought this could be the week that could turn us around, really propel us forward, and it's just another case where Tottenham let you down. F and Hell says only player performing decent is Mickey. As for dominating play, we create FA. I mean, look, that's another thing, another thing that drives me mad. Someone like me, right, who supposedly, I'm told by a lot of people, I don't know football, etc., etc., I've seen us sleepwalking into the problems in this forward line, and no one can say I haven't. I've seen it for the last 2 seasons now, with the signings we've made, and I'm absolutely sick of it. If I can see it, I'm sorry, I like the scouting department and shit like that, but my God, have someone in the club that's paid to actually do the analysis, paid to do all this job on big wages, cannot see that we didn't sign enough to improve us in the forward area. It's absolutely mind-boggling. Iceman says, good evening all, and big up Dave and Jack. I'm fuming over the loss, absolutely fuming. We need to stop these losing streak pretty damn quick. Come on, you Spurs, in Ange we trust. Absolutely spot on. Look, I think we're all feeling it now at this point, this losing streak. We're all starting to feel it now. We've also got Just a Harmless Potato says, good evening all, good to see you, my man. We've got Steven Segal says, Ange out. We've got Eugene S says, big up everyone, good to see you, my man. Who else have we got here? Eddie the Eagle, he says, get that trend in, Eugene. He says, Ange in, players out. Controversial, Eugene. I'm sure that's Eugene. He's in the back end, so we'll definitely, elaborate on that. I'll actually start that now and put that by for when he comes on. We've got the regular member for 34 months. Big up the regular. How are you keeping, sir? Just shows you everything from top to bottom. I mean, look, I'll keep going back to the words that Conte issued and one quote that Jose Mourinho issued. At Tottenham, we're too nice. That was one thing that Jose Mourinho said. And also, Conte said no one at the club likes pressure, which I think is also true. It's absolutely true. And anytime there is pressure, we absolutely buckle. And that just shows that we're not used to doing anything under pressure. And it almost feels like, playing squad mainly, because they're not Tottenham fans like we are. Some of the people in around the club, that's a bit different. Some of them are Tottenham fans and stuff like that in terms of staff and shit. But especially in the players' regard, it just feels like that it's okay to lose at Tottenham Hotspur. You know what I mean? That it's okay. We win one, we lose one, we draw one. It seems to be okay. There's never that pressure for them guys to go out there and win back to back to back to back and actually do something for us. And it's really frustrating, the regular. But good to see you, my man. Hopefully you're keeping well. Clement also says, Ange out. Darv Hotspur says, big up all. Come on, you Spurs. Good to see you in the house, Darv Hotspur. Hopefully you're keeping well. Stephen Wilson says, name out players that had improved under Mr. No Clue. He had me fooled. Once, not anymore. Free for all tactics, chasing around like headless chickens, then pass sideways and backwards. Look, fair observation. Look, like I've already said, I'm not going to argue with anybody about Ange Postecoglou. It doesn't matter what my feelings are personally, because at the end of the day, it's results that are going to bring the faith in Postecoglou, not what I or anybody else in the media or anybody else on YouTube says. It's results at the end of the day. But what I would say is, we, like, prime example there, you call him Postecoglou or whatever. Fair enough. Good nickname, by the way. Credit for that. But, we also said that Conte had no clue. Jose Mourinho had no clue. They were outdated, their tactics, etc., etc., etc. And I'm hearing a lot of the same rhetoric about Ange Postecoglou as well. And we have to at some point, sit down and say, maybe it's not always the manager's fault. Maybe there's other factors that we should actually be looking at and focusing at, rather than actually just constantly blaming the manager. We've chased how many managers out this football club over the last 4 years? Have things got better? I'd argue not. So definition of insanity is keep doing the same expecting different results. I know some people come on and say, that's what Postecoglou's doing. I take that on board, But I have said I do think Postecoglou needs to make a couple of tweaks here and there. Let's wait and see anyway, Stephen. Let's wait and see what happens on Wednesday. We've got Guerrero says definitely players not putting in enough. Romero's making costly, uncharacteristic mistakes, and not one of our forward line wants to take a shot except Johnson, the one man who shouldn't. The whole forward line is a disgrace right now, to be brutally honest. Every single one of them. Son, good first half, didn't turn up the second half whatsoever. He can't keep doing that. We need him for a full 90 minutes, and he has to start realizing that as well. But again, I do feel like Son unfairly gets pulled out in a lot of situations like that, because I feel like he's the only one that really tries, or if he gets on the ball, he's the only one we have actually faith that's actually going to deliver that goal or that killer pass. And I feel like what everyone else doesn't do almost gets put on him, and we expect him to be that match winner every single game. But we need other players to be able to contribute to that. Even when Son was at his best with Harry Kane, it wasn't just a Son show. He had Harry Kane with him, also contributing at more or less the same rate, if not more. And we need other players in the forward line to start stepping up and doing that. But it looks like there's no sign of that happening whatsoever. We keep making the same mistakes. We've got Deadly D1F says 90% players' fault, 10% Andrew's fault. Fair enough. We've got Peter Kagaya says, hi all, 4:08 a.m. in Melbourne. Good to see you, Peter. Hopefully you're keeping well, so I really appreciate you. Probably can't sleep, after that North London derby, to be brutally honest. Paul Brown, evening, Dave, Jack, and panel on chat. No words required for yesterday's shambles. None whatsoever. RST still a bit annoyed, lol. I think everyone's still a bit annoyed, buddy, to be brutally honest with you. We're all peeved off. Big up, Shemtam. Good to see you. We've got Stevie D in the house. Ange out. That'll work. It always served us well with the other 80 managers we had in last bulletproof plan.
81st time's the charm, Steve D.
Yeah, but big up, though. We've also got Mick Hermlock. Big up, Dave and Jack. Been working. Good to see you, Mick. Hopefully you're keeping well, sir. Ollie Freeman, good to see you, Ollie. Says, I'm starting to stop giving a shit. That's how sad it is. I mean, look, we're all the same. We're all starting to lose a bit of interest, but it's the same false dawns all the time. We stop the start nature, and then ultimately, look, we can already see the script happening. Look, I'm going to be brutally honest. I'm a massive Ange Postecoglou fan, and I think given time, he will come good at Tottenham Hotspur. I do think, though, it will require a bit of patience and a bit of hurt for the fan base to go through, and we don't want to go through that because of our hurt for trophies, which I fully understand. I don't think sacking another manager, bringing in another guy, is really going to fix too much. Yeah, we can sit there and say we can play a bit more conservative or even play on the counter-attack. But it doesn't matter if your players can't take their chances in an attacking system with how many times to put in front of goals. Are they really going? Do you really have faith on them taking the chances on the counter-attack when they're going to be less? I don't, personally, to be brutally honest. We might show ourselves up a bit more defensively. We're still not going to have the game winners that we need to be able to go and win games that we're not winning right now. But also, one thing, I've just so much to get out. I'm just so frustrated, Ollie. But, it's just really annoying. When can we just have a bit of stability and move forward? I'm absolutely sick of being here. But one thing I will say with Ange Postecoglou, he's under severe pressure right now. He has to deliver results. Fabrizio Romano, I know he came out with that tweet earlier on today. But sometimes, for me, that's sort of like the old vote of no confidence when the board used to come out and say, through the tough times, we're backing this manager. And then couple more results keep continuing, they're automatically gone. And I just feel like, we're approaching that point. And it's not just the way we started this season. It's from October, November last season. And I'm not naive to know that this is a results-based sport. You're not winning games, you're going to cost your job. But I just hope that the board, through all this, have the nerve and will stick by their guy like Fabrizio Romano has said. Let's wait and see, though, Ollie. Good to see you in the house, though. We've got Stephen Owens. Can't see any change from the end of last season. Look, it's looking like that. It's looking like that. And I'll go even further. Does it look like the players are trying to put an end to it either? You look at some of the games, Leicester, Newcastle, Arsenal. Where was our fight when things went bad? There was none. They gave up. That's concerning. That's very concerning. Good to see Andy English. Hopefully you're keeping well. Darren Johnson, great to see you. Paul G, as always, good to see you. But look, guys, I'm way behind, so I'm just going to, crack on and let's start getting a lot of the guests on. Got this from Georgie Hill. He says, we need to turn Coventry over Wednesday. Come on, you Spurs. Look, I think it's a must win. I said a couple of weeks ago over the international break with a stream with Dom with Jacko that I don't think he survives a North London Derby loss and going out of the cup competition. I really don't think he survives it, to be brutally honest with you. Jack, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it is a must win, George. We need to turn them over. To be honest, I think it's a must win. And I dare say, probably a convincing win is really needed in order for Spurs fans to probably settle down at least a little bit. I think plenty of people are starting to make their minds up with Ange Postecoglou. And that's like what Dave said earlier, because of basically the results. Some people start to lose patience because they just can't take losing and dropping points on such a consistent basis. They only have so much patience in the system for them. But when it comes to Coventry City, I think it just needs to be a convincing performance from Spurs, and it needs to be a win to progress into the next round. Also, you could argue that maybe Ange's recent comments about how he says he always wins something in the second season. Well, this is one of the cup competitions that is technically one of the realistic possibilities of a trophy for us. And if he ends up getting knocked out in that as well, I don't think that would then combine too well with his recent comments that he had with the reporter or the interviewer about, his desire to win a cup in his
Mm,
second season. So he basically needs to win tomorrow for a few different reasons: to settle down the fan base, to technically, show that he is a winner, that he can progress through these cup
mm,
competitions, and also just to honestly save his own job, I think, at this point in time, because the results are kind of hard to look away from. As much as I still have faith in Ange, I'm not Ange out by any means, but I agree with Dave. And Dave and I have been saying this a lot in the back end, that results are results, and the results have not been showing well
mm.
for Ange Postecoglou of late. And so he does need to get a convincing win against Coventry.
Now's the time where, these players have said they love Ange Postecoglou, right? Stuff like that. Now's the time for them to step up and prove that. One thing I would say is a lot of people are probably nervous about making changes into the Coventry game, thinking maybe we need to go our full team. And I think when you look at our form, I can fully understand why people form that opinion. But I'd argue it was the youngsters that got us excited in the preseason. It was the youngsters that looked like they had a better grip of
Mm.
this system and had more potency about them. I think he should turn to them right now and start putting pressure on some of the big boys. Let's wait and see, though, Georgie Hill. Whatever, we're in a precarious position right now, my man. Paul Markey, good to see you in the building. Hopefully, you're keeping well. Oh, by the way, Georgie Hill, great fan cam, actually, my man.
Great
Really
fan
good
cam.
fan cam. Really good perspective on things. People go and check it out. We got Paul Markey says, guys, his selection constantly of Johnson gives me doubts about Ange. A bling man could see he's as useful as Jack. I don't know. That's probably a bit German or something. Eunuch in a harem.
I don't even know if I fully understand the reference. He might be too smart for me, Paul Markey, with some of
Yeah.
these metaphors. When it comes to Johnson, this is also something that Dave and I, to a degree, have said maybe behind, camera before, about how Ange, in to a degree, is kind of making, a rod out of his own back, or he's almost hurting himself. He's shooting himself in the foot with his loyalty to Brennan Johnson. I'm not even going to comment about what I don't think Brennan Johnson is good enough, but I'm just going to leave it at that. I mean, Ange, at this point in time, whether he thinks he is good enough or not good enough, it doesn't really matter. Brennan Johnson, at least in my opinion, is not in good enough form and isn't producing enough goals and assists
Mm,
on a consistent basis in the starting role to warrant being, played in,
mm,
week out. I know there isn't that much competition in the right wing, but he does have options. He does have Odebear. He could technically play Kulusevski out there. He could think about bringing Mikey Moore through.
mm,
It's not easy choices or easy options, but consistently going with Johnson every single game, I don't think is helping him. And I think it's eventually going to lead to him, if it continues this way and Johnson doesn't ever step up, I think it could eventually lead to him, probably getting the sack because of the fact that Johnson just isn't producing what he needs to. He's getting Johnson into the right areas. He's getting into the final third. He has great chances to create something, to score, to do something, but he just consistently lets us down and he consistently frustrates us. And I think that Ange Postecoglou just has to eventually do what he's should, which is leave him on the bench, have him as more of an impact player, which is where Johnson's majority of his goals and assists have come from in a
yeah.
Spurs shirt, is more of an impact player anyways. And I think Ange has to sadly come to that realization, or if he doesn't already realize it, he needs to realize it pretty soon, because I don't think Johnson is helping him out by any means.
I think Andrew's at the situation though. Like you've seen against Newcastle, right? He went with Udebar, dropped Brennan Johnson to the bench, but Johnson came off the bench, had an impact. So Andrew's probably sitting there thinking, going, right, maybe he's starting to get a little bit of form. I'll give him his opportunity against Arsenal. And look, what frustrates me is all the best opportunities to break Arsenal came to him, whether it's shooting or whether it's crossing. When it comes to him crossing the ball, he can never get it by his man. Go back to watch all the games so far he's played this season, and the amount of corner kicks we've picked up because he cannot put that ball by his man. He doesn't have the ability to be able to whip that cross around him. He's constantly just ballooning it straight off the guy in front of him. Ryan Sesson used to do that, and it becomes very, very frustrating. Then when he's in front of goal, he shows absolutely no composure whatsoever. And it's becoming frustrating. And when you look at it, we can sit here and moan about Son. But every time Son touched the ball, 9 times out of 10, they're very quick to try and get 2-3 players over there to crowd out that space. They leave Brennan Johnson open, and that's half the time why a lot of the balls end up falling his way. And they leave him open because they don't think back that he's going to take it whatsoever. And he's becoming a problem. But what does Postecoglou do? The other option they provide him with is Wilson Udebur. Look, only 19 years of age. I think there's a real great potential there, but he's raw right now. He's completely raw. He gets himself into great positions. But again, when it comes to delivering that final pass or getting that shot off on goal, it's wild because he's so young. He gets excited in the moment. So it really doesn't matter. You could go and pick Mikey Moore. Or, sorry, not Mikey Moore. You could go and pick Timo Werner. That guy is absolutely atrocious. Absolutely atrocious. He shouldn't even be a footballer. You should actually think about just going and representing Germany at the Olympics for sprinting. Give up football altogether. It's absolutely embarrassing. So they're the options he has, or he pulls up Mikey Moore. Now, I've said it plenty of times. I think he should give Mikey Moore that opportunity. I think he's shown more than all of them over the course of preseason that he deserves that opportunity. Let's see if he does it this Wednesday, George. But if he keeps sticking by Brennan Johnson, I think it's going to come back to cost him, to be brutally honest with you. I really do. Big up Donovan Oosterreicher as well, renewing his membership. Really appreciate that, buddy, and hopefully you are keeping well, sir. And then we have this from Adrian Chia as well. Big up, lads. The script's getting tedious of late. Rinse and repeat, to be honest with you, the last 3 to 4 years, and it's just becoming absolutely monotonous. We've changed absolutely everything, bar the ownership of this football club, and nothing is yielding results whatsoever. But I've also made a comment, there recently as well. How much does Daniel Levy really want to go to extend to help these guys that he brings in to really help them go on and push on and be successful? I'm not sure he wants the demands that because once he delivers it once, the demands will be there to do it every single season. And I don't think he wants that pressure. And he also knows the money it takes to commit to do that. And I don't think he wants to commit that either. So it's sort of like, with people coming into the club, it's just hopefully like what Pochettino done. They conform to the best of their ability and try and make the best out of a bad situation, to be brutally honest with you. But big up, Adrian Tria. Good to see you in the house, my man. I really appreciate it.
I wish you were on the scripts, Adrian, but I feel like you haven't been on the scripts for some time, because when you were on the scripts, we at least would get a win every now and again. And it doesn't feel like you've been on the scripts for a while now. Would love to be able to get you back on them. Appreciate your support. Good to see you as well, Adrian.
Big up, my man. But look, guys, I'm going to keep up saying hi to people in the chat. There's so many in there that we've missed. We're so far behind. But look, we're going to get it going because I know we're constantly getting that thing flashing up about the back end being full. So we need to start getting the guests on and get through them. The first guest we have on this evening is the one and only Dermotron. Let's bring him on. Let's hear what he has to say. Good evening, Dermot. How are you, sir?
Pissed off, angry, frustrated. One thing I hate more than anything in life is losing to Arsenal. It's bad enough losing to West Ham and Chelsea, but losing to Arsenal, no. Sorry, I can't accept that, and I won't accept that. Jamie O'Hara hit the nail on the head. Too many players went hiding yesterday, and that includes Johnson, who when he sees a player, goes, I'm going to hide behind him because nobody's going to see me. So he's faking peekaboo. I think the players have to take a huge responsibility for yesterday. I think Ange does, with his substitutions in a way, but I think more the responsibility lays on the players. It's a North London derby, for Christ's sake. Where's the passion? Where's the passion of the shirt? Where's the passion of what it means to win a North London derby? Where is that? Where was that? Just a Sunday afternoon stroll? Not good enough. It's not good enough whatsoever.
Is that on the players, or is that on Ange Postecoglou to make sure that they have the right determination, they have the right attitude, they have the right passion going into it?
A manager can only do so much. A manager shouldn't have to. You can only do so much. Down to them players, they should know what it's like. They should be up for that game naturally. These are big games. If you can't get up for a big game, then you shouldn't be a footballer. Simple as that. The manager can only do so much. What do you expect the manager to do? Go and wipe their ass for them and feed them and give them a drink? These players are paid hundreds of thousands of pounds a week. If they cannot get up for a North London derby, which they know it means everything to the fans, then they're in the wrong business altogether. I'm 47, unfit, dodgy heart, back fucked. You know, I waddle around more like Mr. Blobby every did, but I would give 110% on that pitch. And you would, Dave would, anyone in the chat would. Too many players go hiding. Too many players do not give a shit about wearing the shirt. The shirt is not, they don't own that shirt. That shirt is lent to them. Bill Nick would be spinning in his grave yesterday, and I wouldn't fucking blame him.
Do you feel like their heads go down when they go 1-0 down, Dermot? And did you see that in this game where they gave up basically after they conceded that goal?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what Romero's thinking. I don't know if Romero's got Real Madrid on his mind. If he wants to go to Real Madrid, just back off and go to Real Madrid. Just go. If you cannot defend properly and you cannot keep your mind on the game 100%, then you just go. I feel too many. I feel it seems like it's happening again that the players are throwing the manager under the bus. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm looking at it a wrong way. It seems too many players out there are just throwing Ange under the bus. And we cannot go through another manager rebuild, sack a manager, rinse and repeat. We can't do it because it's what's going to lend us nowhere. We have to stick by Ange. We have to back him. And our transfer window, Dave tried to enlighten it during the summer, and fair play to Dave for doing it. I did my little bit, maybe a little bit naive. I didn't heed it, but Dave and Jack did. It's come to bite us on their ass big time because we haven't got a front line. And I know for a fact we were in for other strikers. We were in for Jonathan David. We were in for Havaness as well. I forget what his name is. We were in for these players. All them deals broke down. So what does that tell you about our transfer market window? It's shite. And we're in relegation form.
Well, is it Ange's fault that we're in relegation form, or is it the players' fault?
I hate blaming managers. I blame players because they're the ones on the pitch. Once across the white line, it's their responsibility. I'm sure Ange, look, everyone's got to take responsibility. I think Ange's got to take responsibility for how he prepares the team. I think the players have to take responsibility for the performance. But it just can't go on. Ange will get the sack. If Ange will get the sack before our second Europa League game, if this continues, and then where we are, we're back to where we started, up the paddle without a creek.
Let me ask you, Dermot. You said you want to, give Ange longer.
Yeah.
How much longer then do we give Ange to prove himself?
I would give him this season, but would the board give him that, and would the fans give him that? Probably not.
Well, Fabrizio Romano did tweet today, though, Dermot. He did come out and say that Ange Postecoglou is not in any danger of losing his job despite Tottenham's slow start to the season. The club's project is all centered around Postecoglou. Even if it has been a difficult start to the season for Spurs, they are 100% trusting the manager.
Yeah, well, we all know that's the kiss of death for a manager. How many times have we heard that? How many times we heard that on the Poch? Poch got the backing. Oh, we're going to back Poch. Don't worry. It's the kiss of death. I look, for me, I love Ange Postecoglou. Don't get me wrong. I know what he can do. I've seen what he can do. I've been a fan of his for a long time. But this is my club. I love Tottenham Hotspur. Yesterday meant everything to me. Yesterday meant the world to me. And they let me down. I'm lucky. I went to Mrs. Tron, gave her a hug, gave her a kiss. I said, right, the world is better. I couldn't give a shit about Tottenham after that. And I'm a fan of over 40 odd years. And for me to say that after 40 odd years of following my club, I didn't give a shit. I didn't watch any of the press conferences. I didn't watch anything. Just played my Xbox and chilled out. And this is 43, 44 years of following the club. I know my hair needs cutting too, and it's really annoying me, by the way, as well. So I'm fucking doing that.
You were saying about Jack's quiz.
Yeah, well, I think I'm trying to grow one like Jack.
That's a new word for me as well, Quiff. I was trying to understand the meaning of it as well.
It's your
So
hair.
thank you.
You're barnet.
Thank you, Thank you, Boodle or Bottle. Thank you very much.
But I would give him to the end of the season, but will you get that? Who knows?
Let's wait and see. Well, one last question for you, Dermo.
Yeah.
Coventry City lineup. You know, we got knocked out of that last year against Fulham. Ange made a lot of changes. He did say in his interview after North London Derby, when he was asked about it, was released today, that he plans on making changes again. Is that the right decision?
No, it's not. Them players have to go out and put the rights wrong, if you know what I mean. They're the ones that got to go out and put in the performance and show us as fans and show him, right, we're behind you 100%. And look, I would love to see Mikey Moore get a go. I would love to see Lancashire get a go. I would love to see the younger players get a go. Of course I would. I'm always for the kids. I'm always bring the kids on. But no. I play the same team, and if they don't play, then sort of. And I will give one player praise, and I don't think I'm going to get heat for this in the chat. It's James Madison. I know what he did, laughing and joking. I get that. I don't agree with that. But he was one of the only few players yesterday that stood up and didn't hide. He wanted the ball all the time. He tried. He gave it. Okay, the bit when laughing and joking, I don't like. If that was me, I would have chinned Arteta.
I mean, it was a perfect opportunity to two for him. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
just say you're slightly try and keep the ball in play.
Yeah, I would have chinned the guy. But when it comes to the match, he knew what it meant to us fans. He knew what it meant. So, do you know what I mean? It's. I give him credit. Credit's due. He tried, and that's all I can say. He didn't go hiding. The rest of them went hiding, and how dare they? How dare they go hiding?
Fair enough. Fair enough. Guys, let us know in the comments what your thoughts are on Dermot's summary of the whole North London debacle yesterday. Everybody, please get over and check out his channel as well. THFC Till I Die. Plenty of Tottenham content over there for you guys. And, you know, we really like him. I know you guys like his contributions on the fan shows and the pre-match shows and that. So get over there and show him some support. Big up, Dermo, and have a good evening, sir.
You too. But I will say the light is always at the end of the tunnel. Let's not give up yet. We're all Spurs fans. Let's get behind the players. Let's get behind the team and come on, you Spurs.
Great passion, Dermot. Great passion, Dermot. Great fan, Colin. Appreciate your time, sir.
No,
way to get it started off right.
Have a good evening.
Always a pleasure, legend. You too. Talk to you later, lads.
Have a good one, my man.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Dermotron getting us kicked off as usual. Absolutely love that. Great call in from the Tron there. Big yourself up, sir. And where are we next? Paul Markey says, guys, stop making excuses for Johnson. Do we take this one? No, we haven't. He says, guys, stop making excuses for Johnson. He's been useless since his debut. His League One standard put Kulu as a wide midfielder inside wing. Look, I
don't make any excuses for Johnson. No. I think Dave and I have been since probably the end of last season, if not even before the end of last season.
I expressed my concerns.
It's not even that, though. Like, I think, you know, we started to see the signs of what people are probably feeling now, that sort of frustration with maybe the chances that at least we feel like he wastes. And, you know, I don't think we've made any secret of that. At times, we probably even have gone a little bit too far or been harsh. You know, I think we've been the complete opposite, really. I don't think we've ever really made excuses for Johnson. One of the things that I will bring up, and of course, this is a moment for me to really show my true Yank colors by bringing up a stat. I did find it funny last year that Richarlison was blamed for missing a lot of the chances last season. But when you do look at, you know, sort of the XG performance of them both, Johnson actually had the worst XG, you know, compared to the actual goals scored of anybody in our team in that forward line. He basically should have scored, according to that XG algorithm, he should have scored at least 5 more goals than he actually did. Whereas guys like Sonny, Richarlison, etc., technically outperformed what the XG had them down for. So if Johnson, actually the sign was maybe there quite early that the guy is wasteful, that the guy does miss opportunities to either get a goal or an assist when he is put into those chances or put into those moments. And I think that's carrying on into this season, actually, right now, where we're not seeing him pop up with the goals and assists like he did last year when maybe he came on as an impact sub. He's just not really doing much of either. He's, you know, not making the impact that's needed, and he's not bearing the chances. He's not taking any of his moments, and he just leaves us in frustration most of the time when he does find himself with really good opportunities to make something happen or to deliver something, and he just doesn't. And it feels like what you've said before, Dave, with Ryan Sessegnon kind of levels of he just always finds a way to hit it into his man or hit it, off of his defender when he has a pretty easy cross or a pretty easy shot available to him. And to be honest, I think his time is actually up really as like a guaranteed starter. That's the thing I just don't like, is that Ange kind of makes him the guaranteed first name on the team sheet right winger. And that's the thing I just don't understand. I don't think he's ever played well enough to really deserve that. But that's just my opinion on it. And I think that's starting to show right now so far this season. Plenty of time left in the season, but I don't think Johnson deserves to be starting as much as he has been.
And one thing I've never done is make an excuse for Brennan Johnson. In fact, I often get accused of, not giving these players enough grace and enough time to settle in and stuff like that. I've been quite vocal on Brennan Johnson, all the stuff that I think he lacks and stuff like that. So Paul Markey, definitely not me, my man. Definitely not me. But big up Paul Markey. Really appreciate the support, lad. RST, what we'll do is we'll come back to that. We'll bring this, we'll get the next guest on and we'll answer this with him. It's Eddie the Eagle, knows a lot about answer. He'll probably have a good answer for that. I think it's Eddie the Eagle anyway. I could be right. I could be wrong.
I think he is.
Just quickly then, we've got this from Misoma UK. You say you're there, you're not. Newsflash, you're in Ireland. No, look, 100%. I do live in Ireland, but I do try and get over to games and stuff like that. And not only that, I'll make a lot of sacrifices to be there for every game, in terms of family stuff, parties, events. My sister, had a child there early hours for the North London Derby, but I gave up going and seeing the child and seeing her and everything else to do all the streaming, and to watch the North London Derby and stuff like that. So to think that, we don't give up sacrifices to be able to watch every single game is naive. And it's the same for every fan around the world that isn't not privileged enough. And I do apologize for not being born, in a better geographical location to make sure that I'm there every single week. I do apologize for that. However, to say we don't give up sacrifices and stuff like that is, I would say, argue probably a bit naive on your part. We've got Shem Tan here. He says, we have a team that feel they are safe because of all the players we got rid of. Ange won't change. He never has before, so why would he now? Levy won't fire him. One frustration I do have with Ange Postecoglou is he does tolerate a lot of shit performances, and he tends to keep putting the same individuals out there. There doesn't seem to be really any accountability for not putting in the performances. And this is something that me and Jack spoke about a while ago, and that I said could, and actually probably, over the course of preseason, and I said it could come back to bite him in the ass if he continues to stick by these players and not make the changes. Look. Does he have other real experienced players to rely on, to turn to? No, he doesn't. But, I don't think managers this day and age should be afraid to turn to the youth, especially some of the youth players that we have around the football club. There's a real good core of great players there. And sometimes youth players can actually come in and freshen things up and also give other players around them a kick up the ass. No senior player wants the embarrassment of sitting on the bench behind a young 18, 19-year-old week in, week out. They don't want that. So I would argue, I do think Ange needs to learn, stop persisting with Brennan Johnson, give Udaber a run there, or go and bring up Mikey Moore, who was the most impressive out of all of them in preseason. Give him his opportunity. So I do think, Ange needs to adapt in that way, Jack.
Can I just quickly add, thank you, Shemtan, for the support, but I'm just going to quickly add, with Levy won't fire him. Sadly, I just might disagree with that last part. I think he easily could, Daniel Levy, because he's done that in the past. The moment that the fans have really vented their frustration, Daniel Levy wasn't too far behind them and eventually, giving the manager the sack, whether it was justified or not. I think Daniel Levy doesn't hesitate when it comes to it. He can read the room. When he's had pressure on himself, sometimes when there's been big Levy out chance, it's usually been followed by a manager sacking afterwards because he is going to try to save himself or save the PR of around the club, basically. And so Levy, I think no matter what, will probably, if the results continue to drop and if they continue to go poorly, I think Daniel Levy, wouldn't put it past him actually to sack Ange. And I believe it would be unfair, but it's just how Daniel Levy operates. I don't think he's a guy that has as much patience as we would like to think. That's just my opinion on it.
Soon as the pressure starts getting directed towards him is when he pulls that trigger, brings in a new guy, gets the new manager bounce. All of it's taken off him then again for another year or so. He will have no problem, like Jack said, pulling that trigger whatsoever. But big up, Shem, though. Really appreciate the support, brother. We've also got Iceman in here as well. He says, dark times regarding wins, but in Ange we trust, and big up Dave and Jack for all you do. I was hoping to put this message out after a positive win. Yeah, I think we're all hoping for a bit of a positive week and a positive weekend, to be brutally honest. But, shame on us, falling into the same trap. This weekend, going to have a good weekend, and then we get let down by our football club. Seems to be a common occurrence, to be honest with you, Iceman. But look, what's the right step forward? This is the big argument. Backhands, go through the pain and hopefully come out the right side. You look at Arsenal, they went through a bit under Arteta, came out the right side. Klopp early doors, came out the right side. When you look at the two teams that have challenged Man City, again, it's those two clubs that have given their manager time. We've sacked a lot of managers already, and you would argue we seem to find ourselves in the same cycle. But if results ain't coming, the manager's going to lose his job. It's that simple. So it's hard to know what the right solution is moving forward, Iceman, because I'd argue I'm actually at the point, is either the right decision, to be brutally honest. Pick a fan at this point, because it's going to get to the point where no manager wants to come here. You have to put all the fans into a lucky hat and pick it out. And then hopefully, Dave Harris or fucking, Jack Kinnicky or one of you guys in the chat there, get picked out and get to go and manage the football club. Big up, Iceman, though. Good to see you. And hopefully your son is doing well over in America. And then RST will take this one. And when we go back to your previous one, when we get Eddie on, and he says, fans don't realize that either. People say it took Poch 5 years, but Andrew, so actually this is to go on with it. So we'll bring on Eddie the Eagle, my man. We'll find out how he is, and then we'll put these two super chats to him back to back. RST, really good question, my man. I think it's Eddie next. Am I right, Jack?
Yes, it is, Edward. Then it's Sean afterwards.
Big up, Eddie. How are you, sir?
Could be better. Could be better. I had a shit Monday, as you know. This is never my Tuesday, so it was a shit one to live through. I woke up after collapsing around like 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, and was like, damn, what a shit day this is going to be. And I just got on with it, hung out with the girlfriend, got a little better, but then work came, and then I really set in how shit it was.
Do you know what I done? I just went to bed. I turned off my phone. I went to bed and I caught up on some glorious hours of sleep. To be brutally honest, I just couldn't sit there and talk about Tottenham or listen about Tottenham. I was just so really upset yesterday. But Eddie RST does say here, I'd like to hear your comments on this. Ange never stays more than 3 years. He doesn't have time to wait for players to come good. Fans don't realize that either. People say it took Poch 5 years, but Ange will be long gone by then, whether he walks, gets sacked, or gets a new job. First of all, do you agree with RST on this? And what's your rebuttal?
So no, I don't agree. Unfortunately, that isn't what Ainge is. That's not what he's about. That's not his character. He's not like that. Walks or get a new job to get basically the same thing. He isn't going to walk or get a new job because he isn't going to want to leave. He's not going to want to leave. That's not what he is about. He wants to stay at a club until he has succeeded at this club. He is stubborn, as people are pointing out. He's a very stubborn man. And he said he wants to win trophies at Tottenham. So he won't leave us until he won us a bloody trophy. So he isn't going to leave at all. And he said he only stays 3 years at other clubs. Well, if you go back and look at all the clubs,
because he's making the step up, though, Eddie.
Yeah, he's making the step up, of course, because he went from you could make the argument that he stepped down from the international duty to go manage Japan, but that's a whole different scenario. That's international versus club, so you can argue either way. But yeah, he made the step up, of course, but he also won a trophy in Japan, won a trophy in Scotland, he won trophies in Australia. He's succeeding at these clubs, and he's making the step up to the next level. That's what he's doing. That his whole career has been succeeding, winning trophies, and making the step up. What he did, what he's going to continue to do. So he isn't going to walk. He isn't going to go looking for a new job until he has done that at Tottenham. So he's going to win us a trophy, whether this season or next. He isn't going to leave until he does it. And it's up to Levy to have the balls to not listen to the fans. For once, I'm actually begging him not to listen to the fans and to not sack Ainge and to not get rid of this guy, because he is the best option out of all the managers available. He's the best option there. He's also already settled in, got his players, if you want to call them his players, in. He got the systems all set up. He got the whole youth playing his team, whole youth system playing his system. And you can't just always point fault at the manager for everything. That's not how football is. The manager can only do so much. They can set up the system, they can tell the players how to play, and they can expire the players. That's all they can do. They can't do any more. They can't touch the ball. They can't kick the ball. They can't do any of that. That's up to the players to go out there, execute that. The players didn't do that on Saturday or Sunday. They completely failed Ains. They completely failed the fan base. They didn't live up to what we wanted. They showed a poor performance all around, especially that front three. That front three was clueless that day. They couldn't get the ball in the back of the net. And like Jack, I'm a stat man. I do like my stats. And I'll read out the stat lines for that game, if not mine. And I'll let this sink in how much we actually dominated possession and dominated play in that game, but we just couldn't find the back of the net. So the stat line for that game is we have 15 shots to Arsenal 7, 5 shots on target for us to Arsenal 4, 64% possession to Arsenal 36, 494 passes to Arsenal 282, 88 pass accuracy to Arsenal 75, 13 fouls, 10 fouls to Arsenal, 5 yellow cards, 3 yellow cards, 2 offsides, 3 offsides, 7 corners, 6 corners. We absolutely dominated play. Absolutely. I would say we.
Is that not like typical of, I would argue we've dominated nearly every game under Ange Postecoglou, but, despite the dominations, we're not getting over the line, and there doesn't seem to be any improvement in that forward line. And look, I went and done a lot of research on the signings that were made under Ange Postecoglou and tried to find out exactly, who identified what. And Werner was his, Johnson was his, and so was Dominic Solanke, but none of them have improved that forward line.
Yeah,
and that's our biggest issue right now.
Yeah, none of them have improved this forward line, and I was all for Solanke because last season he did really good job for Bournemouth. He got 19 goals and I think 5 assists or something, and most of those goals were he scored, I think, the second most non-penalty goals out of all players in the league, and that's, I think, behind Erling Haaland. That's really impressive for what he did for such a small club like Bournemouth, who doesn't have that sort of attacking threat as much as other big clubs like we would. And I feel like, unfortunately for Solanke, he was hit for this game with the inability to get the ball to his feet. When he got the ball, he was wasteful. Yes, I understand that. But you also need to understand that people weren't providing that ball to him constantly. Johnson was shit on the right. He didn't give that ball to Solanke nearly enough. Son wasn't up to stuff that game. He wasn't able to beat his man, I think it was Timber on the day, and get the ball. No, it's White. Get the ball to Solanke constantly to give him goal threat. Solanke, I think, had one clear chance at goal, and he should have scored that goal 100%. But he also didn't get enough, in my opinion. We didn't provide enough to our main target, our main attacking threat, which is Solanke. I also like to point out that this game was mainly ruined by the referee. The refereeing decisions were all for this game. The sake that we have more yellow cards than what Arsenal do is terrible. They have made so many way worse tackles than we did. The fact that Timber wasn't sent off twice. He should be sent off twice. Once for the leg going over the ball and hitting Powell on the ankle. Romero was set off for a very similar challenge last season. And the fact that he wasn't given a second yellow for basically picking up Vicario by the shirt while already being on a yellow card for that tackle. He should have been sent off 100%. Arsenal should have been down to 10 men, and we should have been dominating that game a lot more than what we have. The refereeing decision was just not up to stuff that game. And you know me, Dave, I do like my refereeing errors in some ways, but when it comes out like that and so heavily against, of course, my own team, I'm going to complain. I'm going to bitch about it. But
I think Spurs handled it pretty well, though, despite the poor decisions by the referee, because in the second half, we didn't really put ourselves in that much danger. I think, sadly, I don't know if we could really blame the referees much for it, Edward. I think we have to blame ourselves.
In the second half, yes. In the second half, I completely agree. The refereeing was better in the second half, but in the first half, Arsenal should have been down 10 man. Those decisions should have went our way. They didn't, and we went on with it, and because Timber, you got to remember, Timber did a lot that game. He really sucked down that right hand side of us. He gave Johnson a handball, which he shouldn't. Johnson should be beating Timber every single time. He got more pace than Timber. He should be getting down to that byline. But Timber definitely helped them that game. And then we go to the Arsenal goal at the 65th minute, when Romero got pushed in the back. Some referees would have given that a foul because that's 2 hands on the back, right into the back. And he would have been given a foul by most refs. He wasn't. I'm not going to complain about it because I feel like that's a 50-50 decision.
Yeah.
In reality, Romero should have done better to stay in the ground. He got pushed so easily by Gabriel. He's such a big, strong man, but he just gets pushed like a kid. Get pushed over like a kid, and made no effort to recover. He saw the ball coming to Gabriel and just gave a little jump. Didn't do anything else to try and recover. He was basically dominated by Gabriel in that corner. We should have stopped that. That isn't on the end from his system. That's not his problem that Romero got dominated like that. That isn't a system fault. We have seen this season, we have defended set pieces a lot better. We saw throughout the game, we defended set pieces a lot better against Arsenal, like last season. I know it stings a lot more. It was a set piece that made us lose the game in the end. But we also got to take into reality that it isn't because of Ainge's system. It's because of a player mistake that we conceded from that corner. You can't just go, oh, it's Ainge's fault because we conceded from set piece again.
And you know what? I agree with you when it comes to that goal. And I know a lot of people are making a lot out of the amount of goals we conceded from set pieces. I think we've conceded 18 under Ange Postecoglou. If you go back to Conte's tenure, Jose Mourinho's tenure, we also conceded a hell of a lot of set pieces in double digits. And we can make the argument that bringing in a coach is going to make it better. He might organize them up a little bit better or have a different maybe way of organizing them. But what he can't do is make the player want to go and defend that, want to be the one to go and put his head on the ball, make the defender have pride in a clean sheet, have pride in his own defensive work, or even keep him switched on from set pieces. The rest of them yesterday, we largely defended very well. It's the one switch off we made that was costly. And this is where my frustration comes in with the players. They're happy to let the manager take the flak for nearly every defeat that happens, but none of them will stand up and say, but we're switching off in these key moments where we shouldn't. The Newcastle game before that, was it the first or second goal, the goal that came from the throw-in? Again, they just switched off from it. There are things that are beyond the manager's control. And at some point, this is where I come back to leadership. One of the players have to have a conversation with people and highlight it as a fucking problem. But the problem at Tottenham Hotspur is no one wants to dig anybody out. It's all too friendly, high five, slap on the ass, let's go and have lunch together. I'm sick of it. Some true words have to be fucking said. But Eddie, my man, great calling. We've got to keep this show moving. Thank you very much for your time this evening, sir. And no doubt, everybody, I think you can conclude he's still Angie, am I right?
Yeah, always Engine, mate. Always. I told the day I die, mate.
Big up, Eddie. Appreciate it. Calling, my man. Have a good day. It's morning for you, so have a good day.
Yeah, hopefully your week turns around.
Yeah.
Have a good one, guys. Bye.
Have a good one.
Great call.
Everyone, big up Eddie the Eagle. I know a lot of you getting in your comments and stuff like that. We are going to get to them now in just 2 minutes. We'll keep bringing them up. But Jack, RST does want to hear our opinion on this as well. So take it away.
Yeah, I mean, if Ange only can stay around for the 3 years, or if you kind of feel like that Ange wouldn't really have the patience to stay around for, the length of his contract, then, I'd say it kind of cuts both ways here. I think Ange needs to start getting results quite quickly. Because to be honest, I don't think he's going to walk out of the job or anything like that. I think, what will happen is if he doesn't get results anytime soon, that he will probably get the sack. Whether that's deserved or not, is up for debate. But it does look like, Ange at this moment in time is showing signs of frustration. He's showing signs of, being a guy that maybe wasn't given all that he wanted in the summer, or, he's trusted certain players that just aren't performing for him. And now he's going to take the slack for that. He's going to take the fall for that. And he does look to be a pretty rattled guy at this moment in time. I think he is a good manager. I think he does actually have a lot to offer to the Premier League. I think the way that he started the Premier League was a real sign that his tactics, in fact, do actually have some merit. It's just that, we've been kind of figured out to some degree, but also I think the players are really letting him down when he puts them in good opportunities to go on and win games. And yes, you could criticize certain things he does here and there, but for the most part, I think Ange, is going to have to start getting results sometime quickly. And yes, Poch was around for a long time, but I think with Poch, he did get results in certain moments that he really needed to. And that kind of comes with being a manager. When you're under pressure, it's about getting big wins and big moments when probably you are. Even Ten Hag, like I think Ten Hag should have been sacked probably a whole season ago. But when you think about it, he did get some wins when he was under a lot of pressure. And it did take, some time. You gave him some extra time, basically bought himself extra time. And I think that's what Ange needs to do, basically, is get some wins on the board. And then he'll buy himself more time to try to convince the fan base, convince the board, and convince himself that he is ready for this job and that he can take it further. But it's all about results. And, Ange will, we'll see how he goes. But yeah, I don't think I think he's a winner, and I think he's a determined man enough to not probably stick and tolerate with this sort of thing that much longer. It's either he's going to go or he's going to figure out a way to start getting wins on the board, and he'll, save himself and save his job.
And I think with Pochettino, because he was building something, that's why he was here so long. If he wasn't building something, it didn't look like he was going in the right direction, he wouldn't have lasted that long at Tottenham Hotspur. But, and this is where Postecoglou needs to start getting results, because if he doesn't, he'll find himself on the chopping block very, very quickly. But, with Ange Postecoglou, I think there also has to be a degree of understanding. I think you raise a great point there that he hasn't really stayed anywhere too long. But that's because, bar the international football, like Eddie was talking about, after that, it was more or less a step up, a step across the world to try and get himself.
He was ambitious to want to move to higher levels.
To the Premier League, and clubs were picking him up. Bigger and better clubs were picking him up each time because of what he was doing at other clubs and wanting to bring that to them. They bring that, and then the next club would come in. So that's why, his CV is the way it is. But now that he's at the pinnacle, I think, if a club that has more that delivers trophies a lot more than Tottenham do come in from, then you might say he might take that leap. But apart from that, I don't think he will. And I do think he will look to hang on to this job and look to build things. But in order to earn that grace, he has to pick up results. Under Pochettino, people forget, things weren't very, very rosy. I think it was Harry Kane scored a deflected free kick against Aston Villa that kind of kept him in his job.
Crucial
gave
result.
Him the patience. Brought the results about and really kicked on with that project. And I think we're sort of waiting for that win under Ange Postecoglou right now, but it just doesn't seem like it's going to come. I'd also argue with Pochettino, there was a lot more patience around it because he did turn to the academy. He came in at maybe a similar time where Postecoglou did, where he had a lot of players on big wages, weren't pulling away, and the squad needed a rebuild. But I would argue that Pochettino, he didn't just rely on the business that the club done for him. If other things weren't working out, he went to the academy and went with it, stuck by it. That's one thing I think one area Postecoglou could really use at Tottenham Hotspur is to turn to that academy at times. Don't be so afraid. It worked out for Pochettino in the long run. It gave other players a kick up the arse, and the ones that didn't want to be here, they were found out and they're out the door very, very quickly after that. Also, at the time, a lot of the big clubs in the so-called top four were sort of starting to rebuild. You had Arsenal, starting to rebuild after the Wenger era, Man United starting to rebuild after the Fergie era, and we're a bit of turmoil and stuff like that. So it was more open for us if we got our shit together to go on that run and try and ultimately get it over the line. Man City were nowhere near as dominant as they were and stuff like that. But also, we weren't really used to being in the Champions League before that. We were trying to break that top four dominance and get into that and get into Champions League regularly. Yes, we got in there under Harry Redknapp, but there were many years after that, a couple of years after that, where we were still trying to get back to that promised land. So there's a bit more tolerance around it. Now that we are one of them big clubs now, they call it the Big Six, there's a lot less tolerance for a manager to be able to give him that time to get it right. And I think this is where Spurs fans really need to sort of sit there, think about it long and hard and weigh it up. What's the benefits? What's the pros? What's the cons in terms of knee-jerking and sacking him now or giving him this season to try and get it right? That's what I think what we need to do as a fan base. But RST, hopefully I've answered your question, my man. If not, let me know in the chat and I'll go deeper into it if you're not satisfied, lad. But big up RST. We've also got Jason Bell for an all-out attacking system. We create a pitiful small amount of good scoring chances, and our finishing is abysmal. Well, look, that's the thing. That's what I tried to highlight in terms of the summer signings. You can't just bring in any Joe Soap, with a bit of pace and go, he's the guy. It comes down to, that coolness in the moment, someone that can pick out that final ball or find that finish. That's one of the hardest things to find and buy in football to bring to your football club. And to be brutally honest with you, this is where I also feel like a bit sorry for Postecoglou and where I think he needs time. It's not his fault the club sold Harry Kane. If he had Harry Kane, I don't think we'd even have half of the conversations we're having around the manager right now, because surely that guy would deliver the amount of goals we need in this system. So that's why I also feel like he needs time to figure out that forward line and get it right. I knew this pain would happen when we sold Harry Kane, despite many fans thinking it wouldn't be a problem. So if you were one of them fans that wanted to sell Harry Kane and said it'd be okay, again, I think you need to reassess and give Postecoglou and have understand about it. Give Postecoglou a bit of time in that regard. But in terms of the amount of shots we're getting off and goal, is a huge frustration. And this is a point that Jack tried to make, yesterday, and I don't think it got across clear enough. Also, if you look at the amount of times we turn the ball over in the opposition half, off their midfield or off their back line, and we often have an overload of players going forward, and we don't actually execute it, which we should. Jack was making the point yesterday. Most other Premier League teams would be getting shots off on goals with them situations. We don't. And then when we do get shots off on goal, none of them are on fucking target, which is a huge concern, Jason Bell. But big yourself up, my man. Member for 36 months. Absolutely love that.
Huge support.
You're absolutely spot on.
Thank you, Jason, for all the support. Dave put it perfectly. I just think we're so pitiful in the final third that we don't even end up actually getting a shot on target, which I don't think is down to the system. I think that's just down to how bad our forward line has been playing.
Big up, Jason Bell, my man. Good to see you in the house. And then we've got this from Jacob Anderson, member for 31 months. Big up, Jacob. Hopefully you're keeping well, sir. Jacob. Really appreciate the support, buddy. He says teams have figured us out. They can let Spurs have the ball and just hit us on the break. I think the attacking midfielders need to be shooting more. Also, Big Vic should have punched the goal away. Do you know what? I completely agree with what you mean by teams for finding it easy for us to play against. Look, and this is rinse and repeat from last season, by the way. It's not just off the back of the way we started this season. We are so toothless going forward. We lack any sort of clinical nature. How long has it gone on that we barely look like we're going to create a really good opportunity? In fact, when was the last clear-cut opportunity we've actually created one-on-one with a goalkeeper? I don't remember it. Basically teams are going, they don't have the players up front. We'll sit back, soak up the pressure, keep ourselves in the game, be patient. Your counter-attack will come, or your chance on the set piece will come. Take that. We get something out of this game. And it is becoming very easy to read. I'd also argue, when we are going forward, one thing that pisses me off, we piss about with the ball across the back line, and you're allowing all 11 men to get behind the ball, set up their defensive shape that they've been working on the week before. There doesn't seem to be any urgency from anybody to really make something happen. And I think largely that comes from, if you look at Sky Sports on YouTube, they put out a video breaking down the North London Derby with statistics and stuff like that. And on that, Spurs have out just a second to Liverpool in terms of intense sprints in the Premier League. And I think a lot of the hesitancy and a lot of them playing safe is because they don't want to lose the ball and do the work the other way. And that's why you're seeing them maybe take the safe option rather than actually try and play that penetrating pass, because they don't want to be they're lazy and they don't want to do the work that way. That's what it feels like to me, Jacob. In terms of Big Vic, I said it straight away yesterday, even before Gary Neville got out there after the game doing his thing. I'm livid with Big Vic. That's in the 6-yard box whenever I was growing up. And newsflash, I would like someone to tell me when it changed. But that was always the goalkeeper's territory. If anything happened, if a ball came in and a player got on the end of that, your goalkeeper's to blame. He should be coming out, clearing man and ball. And it's embarrassing, quite frankly. Over here we play a game called Gaelic football, and a lot of it is jumping up in the air, catching the ball, and then, playing around with it, using your feet to go and try and, score goals and points. It's simple. And this is why I think many Irish people like me would fail to understand why goalkeepers can't do this in this modern day and age. You go up, one knee up, go and catch the ball. Clear man and ball. It's that simple. Just be brave. I think Vicario needs to be a lot stronger, quite frankly. I think he's weak in that regard. Jacob Anderson. Jack, anything you want to say to Jacob?
In the case of Vicario, I think he looked really sketchy in other set pieces where he did kind of make a meal of it, or he wasn't that convincing with how he dealt with it. I'd actually argue that in the goal that we ended up conceding, Arsenal clearly had a tactic where they kind of build a wall of players in front of the goalkeeper to make it near impossible for him to come out and be able to punch it or gather it safely. So I think in that instance with Gabriel's header, yes, I understand it's right in front of kind of the 6-yard box, but I think they intentionally tried to make it really hard for Vicario to be able to push himself through there. And so I think if more falls on actually someone like Romero, just to be stronger, to know that, someone like Gabriel is definitely one of the main targets that they are going to try to hit in that area. And I just think Romero just is way too weak there, not brave enough, not, courageous enough, is just acting like kind of a coward, I think, in that situation, because he takes a shove in the back and then kind of just gives up on the play entirely, which I think, falls more on Romero. And I would say in other situations, Vicario probably could have been criticized from other set pieces where he didn't really look that convincing. But I think in that goal in particular, I just felt like Arsenal actually did a pretty good job of basically blocking the pathway for Vicario to be able to scramble through the box and try to make a claim for it. But it is something that he still needs to work on. Like most set pieces, he is quite sketchy in the way that he tries to deal with it. But I think in that one in particular, the one we actually conceded from, I don't really blame Vicario as much as I would Romero.
Well, big up Jacob Anderson.
Thanks for all the support. 30 months of elite membership. Thank you so much, sir. And Dave and I will try to do a better job of giving back to you, for being an elite member. But if you ever wanted to do that, tell me your Spurs story. We would love to schedule that with you. Just give us an email.
Yeah, big up Jacob Anderson, my man. Really appreciate the longevity of the support. One absolute legend. Like Jack said, if you do want to tell me your Spurs story, just get in touch and let us know, my man. Peter Kagayas has become a new YouTube member as well.
Become a Flag Hat member. Thank you, Peter. Members preview for the Coventry City game will be tomorrow for all of you lovely members. So feel free to join us in the live chat for that one tomorrow. A members only live stream. So would love to have you with us, Peter. Thank you.
Big up, Peter. Really appreciate the support, my man. Really good to see you this evening. And also big up Derek Hutchinson. Hopefully you're keeping well, my man. Good to see you in the building. But guys, let's keep it moving. We're very busy
night.
Full back end. We've got people that are trying to click and get in as well. So efficiency is a must. So let's keep it moving. The next guy we have on is the one and only Shawnee Maddox from the USA. Let's hear what he has to say. Big up, Shawnee. How are you keeping, sir?
Okay. I mean, again, I feel like at this point, I'm just disappointed, not even that mad at Spurs. I mean, they're pretty much doing the exact same thing they've been doing for the last 9 months. And again, I think that's the frustrating thing, is it feels like under Ange at this point, everything's gotten a bit stale. And again, I think again, a lot of people are calling for Ange out. I don't necessarily think there's a better manager that we can get in right now. So there's no point in sacking him. Again, we sack him. Who do we bring in? It's Ryan Mason. We've seen that Ryan Mason,
someone a bit more pragmatic. That's what people are looking for. Someone a bit more defensively. Maybe Southgate offers the ideal, tactic, Sean.
But no, again, we've seen what happens. If we sack him, we'll just end up with Ryan Mason. So there's no point in making a drastic move at this point mid-season. That being said, again, I think Ange is showing really some weaknesses, I think, in his own management game. Again, I feel like we've been complaining about subs since he got to the Prem, and it doesn't feel like he's gotten any better. Once or twice we've seen some early subs, but almost every game we watch, you can kind of see at about 60 minutes, the team goes entirely stable. Energy levels have dropped, and we aren't changing things. Sometimes at that point, other managers are making subs. The momentum shifts. We concede a goal, and then we make a change. And that's been the pattern of almost every game. We're sitting back. Again, he's almost not proactive enough. And that's where I think other managers tend to beat him in terms of doing a better job of one. Because again, it's kind of, I think management is kind of two different parts. You have the off the field kind of the preparation on the training ground, setting the team out, but then you have the in-game tweaks, the in-game adjustments, making those subs to disrupt the momentum of the other team or to create your own. And I think he just doesn't seem to be as adept at that second part of management. And I think it's hurting us. And again, can he learn it? Maybe. But he really needs to adapt a lot quicker. Because, again, every time before they score, you'll see all of us on the watch along being like, make some subs. This game is going stale. We can see the other team is about to score. And then it happens. And then Ange just sitting there looking mad. And it's kind of like, if we can see it, and you're sitting there, how are you not seeing it? Or what's again, I don't know what's going on in his mind, but it feels like he should be able to notice that. Because again, this is one of the best, most competitive leagues in the world. I mean, the caliber of the managers is as high as it is. And I'm questioning if he is at the upper end of these managers. Again, it's starting to look like maybe he's not as good a manager as, well, I mean, almost no one's as good a manager as Pep. He's probably the world's best. Is he as good as Klopp? Is he as good as the other top four competition? And it's not clear that he is. Again, I mean, the players are clearly not performing at the level, but the parts within his control, I don't think he's handling as well as he could be.
I think that's a very good point, Sean. I've been very critical of his substitutions, and it's something I should probably mention more. As much as I try to defend Ange, that is an area that I don't think he ever really gets right. And can I ask you this? I feel like even the players that he does end up subbing off are also sometimes the wrong choices. Like he subbed off Bentancur when I didn't see much of a reason to do that. He subbed off Madison and kept on Kulusevski. I felt like Madison, in my opinion. Just think some of the players that he even subs off don't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, I mean, again, I've been questioning his team selection a lot. And again, I think sometimes even just his selection on the bench, we've seen from Werner that he is incapable of changing the game with 20 minutes left. And again, we saw all preseason, the only players that made the team watchable were the youngsters. Mikey Moore has not gotten a single minute this season, and Werner has come on twice and made zero impact. And again, it's those types of situations are where I start to lose faith that we'll see anything positive out of kind of Ange. And I think that's the difference, where it's kind of more of I feel like he's not doing the best job with the tools he has available. I mean, obviously, again, I don't think he got exactly what he wanted during those transfer windows, or especially this last transfer window. Again, the club let him down. But I also feel like he's not doing as good a job with the tools he has available.
Yeah.
That's
a very good point.
And the club bought him some blunt axes, but he's out there trying to chop down the tree with a rake. And it's kind of like, what is going on here? Again, at least there's some better kind of tools and players available that at least could do better than what he's seeing. Again, it's 5 games in, so hopefully we see some change and that he shakes it up a little bit. But, I mean, last season we didn't really see him look much at the youth in the academy in more of a meaningful way. Honestly, it starts to feel like maybe he only put more into the team to give him those few minutes to try and fulfill the club's
appease the owners
directive to give him minutes to try and convince him to stay. And again, we're seeing that the new guys they brought in, Bergvall and Gray, cannot get minutes in this team. They've looked better than some of the guys that are starting in this squad, especially at preseason. And again, if the guys aren't performing, then as the manager, the one thing you can do is bench them.
That's true.
So we need to kind of see how he responds to this. Again, I think someone else was saying that I think Dermot was saying he doesn't want to see any changes for that Coventry game. I completely disagree. Again,
Yeah,
we've
he needs to make a
seen
lot of changes.
these players. I wouldn't say a lot of changes, but I'd say maybe make like 4. Again, we've seen those youngsters, Bergvall, Gray, Moore, were the ones getting it across the line in preseason. Again, the other guys are not performing at a level. I mean, it doesn't seem like you said. I think they were hiding. The passion doesn't seem there. If they want to hide, they can hide on the bench or in the crowd and like the reserve with the reserves.
Let me ask you a question, Shawnee, because one that sort of I'm trying to maybe get to grips with, because you know I agree with you. When you look at the preseason, right? You know the youngsters were the one that looked like they got to grips with handball. They knew the system better. They were trying more. You know they were the ones that where our joy came from, like you said, with the goals and stuff like that. And then you look at some of these senior players, and I've said this to Jack, I don't think it looks like they're trying everything they can to try and put this right on the football pitch. Do you think that maybe the senior players then, when you actually take them 2 scenarios and put them together, do you think then the senior players have maybe lost faith in this system or don't believe it?
I think maybe with some of them, some of the senior players we've had issues with prior to Ange being here and this system in place. But again, it's if they don't believe in the system, they don't have to play. We have the rest of the squad for a reason, and Ange really hasn't looked very deep. He's not even using all of the 5 subs that he has available sometimes. So again, I don't know why he's not looking at those players. But if he doesn't change things, he's going to follow on the same trend that we saw from a lot of those senior team players getting the manager sacked. Where again, the reason that Poch really survived for 5 years is because he said, "To hell with these guys that will not perform. They won't listen to what I want to do." And he just chucked them off into the reserves and said, "There's no place for you if you will not get on board." And again, I think at a certain point, Ange needs to go there and say, "Hey, you're not performing. These other guys," because again, with the youth academy kids, even if the skill level isn't there, they will not stop running. There's no giving up because they care about performing. They like the club. They want to prove themselves. We didn't see that heart in any of our senior players in this last derby. At least you have some positive to look forward if he's playing those. And again, I think what we've seen time and time again is people are more patient if you're at least playing the youth, because then we can see progress and development. Every time he plays Werner and then Werner's terrible and we lose, what have we accomplished?
Yeah, I agree. I'd love to see Ange make some brave decisions. And I think it's getting to that point he has to now because, like you said, I think if he keeps living and dying by, you know, some of these guys that he seems to be putting a lot of his faith in, I think it will come back to cost him, you know. It was the same with Conte, the same with Jose when they had their favourites, kept on putting them out there and they kept on letting them down, you know. I think at some point he needs to make that statement, and just because what it does do is it sends out a message to everybody else. And I think where Pochettino, you know, sort of gained a lot of respect is because, you know, not a lot of managers have the balls to make a statement like that and live and by the decisions. And sometimes them youngsters are just so hungry for game time, they'll do anything you ask them to do. And just by doing that alone can actually help you going forward. But Shawnee, great call, my man. Really enjoyed this
Great
one.
call.
I think you've made some very good points today. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, no, at this point, we're just hoping we bounce back against Coventry. Again, it's kind of, if he goes out and he smashes Coventry, we can kind of get the fans back behind him and the project, and I think there's a path forward. If he loses to Coventry, then we're really gonna be in a bad place.
We're in for a real mess. Yeah. Great points, Sean. Great call.
Sure.
Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Come on,
Well
you
done,
Spurs.
Sean.
Great
Great
call.
call.
People loving it. People loving a bit of Shawnee. It's great to see. Big up, Shawnee. Absolutely great call from him.
I'm going to be stealing some of those points for the pre-match build-up tomorrow. I really, he gave me a lot to think about, actually. I thought that was very well put in a lot of cases.
I love that. It was a great call, actually. A very, very good call there from Shawnee. We've got this from Moondog. Moondog, how are you and Charlie, my man? Please let us know. I did ask you, for you might have gone out by the time, but I did ask you for maybe a bet for the North London Derby. Feel like I haven't got one off you in a while. It's a good job I didn't in the end. But surely you have a good one for me for Coventry tomorrow. Christmas is coming up. I need to earn some money from the betting, for Christmas presents and stuff like that. So please give me some tips in the chat, my man, or you've got my number. Just drop me a message with a couple of tips, here or there. But good to see you. He says, I've had enough of this. We got rid of the Deadwood, so we have better players now. But I can't see that we have improved at all. Why? Look, that's the $1 million question, right? The progress hasn't been there on the pitch. It hasn't even been there from last season. Last season, we went 10 games unbeaten, and then we tailed off. And you look at this season, we've got off to a really poor start. Now, I know, what was it, 2016, 2017, Pochettino got off to a similar start. We ended up finishing third that season, sort of salvaged the season. Could we recover? Of course we can if you go by that, but we're a long way off it right now. And I mean, why? To be honest with you, I'm just not sure Ange believes in the squad entirely. I'm not sure the squad believes in Ange entirely. The fans, we don't really believe in any manager entirely because all we want is success and stuff like that. And I just think, I think that's probably your biggest reason. I think Ange, to a degree, would be pissed off with the summer transfer window. I know people say, why doesn't he come out and say it? As soon as he does, he's going to lose his job just like Conte did. So it's not even worth his time. I think he's better off trying to put his time in onto the pitch and trying to get the best out of these players and stuff like that. But honestly, I think it's because of the transfer window mainly. We knew exactly what positions we needed to address. We needed a left back. We didn't bring one in. We're still relying on good old Ben Davies. We needed a left-sided centre back. We didn't bring one in. We're still relying on good old Ben Davies to cover both positions. Many said we needed a CDM to make us a bit more defensive, a bit more defensive solidity, screen that back line. Brought in Archie Gray, a young kid, which, is going to take time for him to get up to Premier League level to deliver at the standard we need week in, week out. We needed wingers. We brought in Uda Burr and Timo Werner, who, again, didn't do anything last season. I don't know why we brought him in. So that's come back to haunt us because, and I said this on all of the welcome to Tottenham's, the ones I do where the sign is coming in, I'll give my thoughts. I said, I'm worried about the initial impact and that I think we're adding to the situation rather than actually solving it. And then, we've gone and spent money on Dom Solanke. I'm going to hold off on him just for a little while longer. I do think when I look at the match sharpness isn't quite there. I think he's going to need a couple of games to really gather that. But I'd also argue, against Leicester, we had a load of chances, should have been better. But what did we actually really create for the guy yesterday? Absolutely fuck
Two
all.
different kind of performances, to be honest.
So it's sort of like, we bought him, but again, if you're not going to buy the right pieces to provide him, then what do you want the guy to do, outside of when the ball comes from hold?
You could be more critical of him for the Leicester performance, to be honest.
Yeah.
You could be more harsh on him for the Leicester one.
Yeah, and I think that's our problem right there. We just didn't do enough in the summer transfer window, to be honest with you, Moondog, Jack.
I'm very thankful that actually, I'm not sure whether Dave has made it clear to me that it maybe wasn't entirely Ange's doing, but I am very thankful for the Ange era, for the fact that we have gotten rid of players like Sanchez, players like Dyer, the Sessignones, the Ndombele's, the Lo Celsos of the world, like people that had just stayed at this football club way, way too long, people that I knew we were never going to win anything with any manager whatsoever. So I'm glad that we actually have seen a lot of the Deadwood go. But yes, the question then kind of comes about is, how is it that Antonio Conte, Jose Mourinho technically had better winning percentages with those sets of players that I personally never believed in than what Ange does with what I think are better players in Van de Ven, in Vicario, in Pedro Porro, in Udogie, etc. So it's a definitely $1 million question, and that's why technically I think a lot of people are getting upset with Ange because they feel like there are good enough players in this team in certain positions to be winning more games than we actually are right now, and that's why the pressure is probably on him. He needs to start getting results. I think the forward line is dramatically worse than what it used to be, and it is letting him down. But there are positions throughout the pitch or in the starting 11 that we have improved on, like the defense and for the most part the midfield. And we haven't been getting results, and it needs to change.
And that's it at the end of the day. Like we keep saying, it really doesn't matter what anyone says. Results are the defining factor.
Good question,
I think
Dog.
one good thing I think to come out of it is because under Conte, Jose and Nuno, when we had that defensive style, we kept on hearing so much. We want to get back to the Tottenham way. We want to play the brand of football that Tottenham's famous for and known for, and attacking football. If we're going to lose games, I'd rather play attacking football. Remember that one. People forget that one very, very quickly. Even if we're going to lose games, I'd rather play attacking football. I think one thing to come out of it that we've fully discovered, and that's something, again, I tried to say at the time, no one cares about style of football. All they care about is winning games in football. So if we do go through a new manager, we need to actually sit there, forget about the style of football. What manager's going to win us games? That's what we need to be focusing on. So that's one good, clear thing to come out of this whole situation anyway, Moondog. Big yourself up, my man, and really appreciate the support, buddy. But look, let's keep this moving. It's a very, very busy evening this evening. It's chock-a-block. Who's next on the list, Jacko?
I think it's going to be Ryan, and then after that, it's going to be Chris, the GOAT. Then we have the other GOAT, Queen Ellie as well. Another one, and Michael from Poland. So it's going to be a chalk lineup today. Huge, huge guests coming on. But we're bringing on Ryan next.
Let's bring him on. Ryan, good evening, my man. How are you?
Oh, Dave. Do you know what?
You said we were going to.
You were wrong. Yeah, it wasn't 3-0. It was only 1-0.
Yeah, but do you know what? It didn't surprise me just the way we were, but it was obvious, Dave, straight from before a ball was even kicked, mate. But look, right, first of all, the first things first, we're going to be getting top half at this rate. And do you know what? I actually think West Ham are going to finish above us this year now. It's that scary to think.
Fair enough.
Go on, Jack, sorry.
I wasn't saying anything, Ryan. I wasn't saying anything.
You speak, Ryan.
We're just letting you.
And obviously, right, if West Ham are going to finish above us,
Your audio's going a little. Your audio's going a little crazy there.
Okay.
You sorted it last week. Yeah, I can hear you now.
Right, yeah. So obviously, right, if West Ham are probably going to finish above us now. I've got no confidence in any of this, Dave. To be honest, it's just turned out to be ridiculous. Like to the point where I was up to until after them 10 games, I was Ange in, but now I'm Ange out altogether.
What is it about, the whole Ange Postecoglou era that's made you maybe lose faith in him then?
Just, it's ridiculous. Just the higher line, everything. I'm Ange out. It can't get much worse than that. Do you know what I mean? But like I said on the last fan show, Dave, right, I was correct about the scoreline. Well, no, not correct about the scoreline, but I was correct about the result, how it was going to go. So, and I've been right about that. So what else am I going to be right about this year? Do you know what I mean?
Well, the medal's in the post for you, Rhino. I'll make sure of that, my man. Congratulations. But, again, what is it exactly about Ange Postecoglou that you want him gone? You said the high line.
Yeah, what's frustrating you? Yeah.
It's that it's really just he hasn't got a plan B or a plan C or a plan D or a plan E. He thinks it's just the Scottish Premier League, and it's not. It's just not. This is a whole different. And I can't, Dave. I really can't. And I was just shocked, and it's gone up in smoke. The whole of this has just gone up in smoke.
That is a concern, and Jack has highlighted this as well. That maybe he doesn't have the respect for the Premier League, or maybe he doesn't understand that the Premier League is a lot tougher than what he's experienced elsewhere, and that he might actually have to make some adaptations to adjust to the quality of the Premier League. Jack has sort of said that before. So, Rhino, if you do want Postecoglou gone, what manager would you like to come in here and replace him then? And you can't say Poch because he's with the USA, so that's not going to happen if we would sack Ange tomorrow. He's not going to walk away from that contract. So what manager and what sort of style of football would you like to see them bring then?
Do you know what? I really couldn't give a damn about the style of football at the moment. I just want us to be able to defend and keep clean sheets and actually score goals whilst we're doing that. So the kind of manager I would want is someone who could have that Poch kind of style.
Yeah.
where we're still attacking, but not the high line, because that high line, man, it's killing us. It's killing us.
So you still would want an attacking manager to some degree. You wouldn't want to go back to like a Jose or a Conte, someone who's very defensive minded.
No. I don't want a defensive manager but I would want someone who can still. It's literally like that Poch kind of mold, where it's not too attacking, where we're leaving ourselves wide open like we are at the moment. But I don't want a Conte style of football either. I want something in the middle where it's perfect. You know, like if you've cooked something, right, and you've overcooked it, it's going to be burnt, isn't it? Or if you've undercooked it, it's going to be raw. So you need to find that middle ground. Like, and that's what I'd like to see happen, where we're having that Poch mold. But it's difficult, because who's going to want to come to us? Because I don't know.
I think your microphone's kind of going again, Ryan.
Just lean back a little bit, Ryan. Just lean back. I think. What were you saying there? Sorry, buddy.
No, I just don't want. I don't want Ryan Mason. Ryan Mason is no, because he can wipe the shit off of anybody. Literally, like, he couldn't wipe anybody's asses, in other words. And it's got to the point where, like I said, it just needs to have that Poch mold, but then it needs to be that kind of mold, but just where we've still got a defensive backline. And you know what the funny thing is as well, Dave? You know what the funny thing is as well? This would have been perfect for a Conte, this backline.
Yeah, I agree.
It would be an absolute. He would have literally have had the dream back. Well, for him, it would have been the dream backline, literally.
But you know what? He wouldn't have had the forward line to be able to get him out of trouble, though, as well. That's the other thing with it. You know, if he had this forward line, we wouldn't have scored anywhere near the amount of goals we did when he had Kane and Son to rely on, and that's also, you know, a massive part of the problem.
Yeah, and I get that, Dave, but we need to stop going on about this bullshit of Kane, man. It's
no, but it's not bullshit though, Ryan. Like, what people need to understand is it's left us with a huge hole in the forward line. You know, people might not want to hear about it, but the guy scored and assisted a hell of a lot of goals. He also was a massive, you know, help to Sonny, which now a lot of people say get him out of the club, he's struggling, you know, and my point is, we need to get that forward line back up to a certain standard. And when we do, that's when we'll start winning games. Because, to be honest with you, right now, it doesn't matter what manager bring in, you're still going to have the same problem with that forward line. You can sit there and say it's bullshit, but the only reason why we're in this position right now with the forward line is because we sold our main source of goals and one of our main supplier of goals. So you can sit there and say it's bullshit, but then why are you and most other people moaning about the forward line then? If it's bullshit.
No, because the reason why, right, I'm saying it's bullshit, Dave, it isn't because I wanted Kane to go. It's because he's gone and everyone just keeps going on and on and on. Like,
because we haven't replaced him though, Ryan. We had 100 million to try and replace him. We haven't replaced him to anywhere near it.
I get that. And I get that. But the thing is, right, if we keep living on talking about Kane, it's not going to take Kane out of the...
But by neglecting the problem, though, Ryan, and just going, it's bullshit, is it really going to fix the problem? You have to first identify what the problem is in order to be able to fix it. If you don't identify it, what are you trying to fix?
No, and I get that, right? We have to try and fix it somehow. But what I'm saying, fucking Dominic, so fucking lanky isn't the answer. We all know that, right? But then at the same time, it's difficult because everyone just keeps saying, oh, well, Kane this, Kane... Yeah, we know what Kane can do. We know what Kane did do for us, but we can't keep going on as if Kane's still here because he's not. We know that.
No one's going on like he's still...
Audio is going again.
No one's going on like he's still here. Like me, personally, I'm not going on like he's still here. I'm just saying it's caused us a huge problem. We haven't fixed it. And it's not Ange Postecoglou's fault. They decided to sell Kane, and that I think he does deserve a little bit time to try and get that forward line right, because you were always going to take a massive hit once he left, and that's what our biggest problem is right now. We're not scoring goals, we're not creating goals, but we made that problem ourselves. And until we
Yeah, and
identify that problem and acknowledge it, we can sit here as Spurs fans and go, we made the right decision to get rid of him, just like some go, we made the right decision to get Conte, Jose Mourinho and all. But did we really? And until we start actually identifying these problems and stop glossing over it, it's never going to get fixed.
No, but then you can't just blame just the other managers for that, right? You've got to look at the hierarchy as well in Daniel bloody Levy.
100%. Look, I've said it about the owners. I've said it this summer that the transfer window has been appalling. I said last summer they're making a rod off their own back, selling Harry Kane and stuff like that. I pull out the owners when I think they've done wrong. I may not go as extreme as other people and stuff like that, but I will always sit there and call out the owners if I think they've got it wrong.
Yeah, and that's the thing, Dave. Right? I get that, right? I get where you're coming from with that, yeah? Don't get me wrong, I get where you're coming from. But it was Daniel Levy's fault in the first place that we got rid of Kane. So realistically, right, it was Daniel Levy who started this off and finished it. And West Ham are now going to finish above us now. And I think West Ham for the foreseeable future are going to finish above us.
No,
I think we're going to be in the bottom half at this rate, Dave. I honestly think we're going to be in the bottom half.
Now, look, you're not the first one I've heard express that sort of concern, and I really hope not, Rhino. Because part of me feels like it might reach the point where they might just ditch the league and go for cup competitions or go all in on Europa League to try and get Champions League that way and stuff like that. But and do you know what? To a degree, I wonder would Spurs fans tolerate that, because when we got to the Champions League final, our league form was absolutely shit. It was shocking, but it wasn't really spoke about or wasn't really mentioned because we got to the Champions League final. It sort of took the light off that situation. So I wonder would that be the case? But Rhino, big yourself up, my man. I really appreciate you coming on here, and I love the way you put me to task, my man. Don't ever stop.
But then, just one thing I will say. Yeah. Like I said, if it had been any other result, I would have put my hands up. So I don't have to actually do that.
No, I know that. I know you would.
I will say, Dave, though, just quickly, I WhatsApped you, the other this morning, partly enough, and I just said to you, I told you I was right. I didn't want to be sounding like it was bragging, but I was right. I told you.
Your
so.
trophy is in the mail, Ryan. Your trophy's in the mail. It's being sent to you.
Yeah, well.
Well, look, since you were right, what's your score prediction for Coventry?
Do you know what? It's going to be. We're going to win it. I'm sure we'll win it as long as from what I've heard, we're making 10 changes. 10 changes apart from Vicario. So we're literally going to be playing a whole different 11.
So what's your score prediction?
Oh, it's a cup game. Coventry, I'd say probably 2-1 Tottenham.
That's
fair enough. Well,
a lot of people.
Hopefully you're right, Rhino. We'll give you another trophy. You'll be stacking them up in the cabinet more than Tottenham Hotspur, my man. But Rhino, pick yourself up, my man. We'll speak to you again very, very soon. Thank you for your time this evening, lad.
Yep. All right, cool. Peace.
Peace. Everybody, let us know in the comments. Do you agree with Rhino? He wants a change in manager, and he's not the only one. Let us know in the comments if that's you, if that's what you want to see. We've got THFC Till I Die member for 31 months. Thank you, lads, for all you do for us. We will get there. Spurs will I've a bit of dirt on my screen there. Spurs will win. Once again, we are Tottenham Hotspur. Come on, you Spurs. Big up Dermotron. Really appreciate the support. Do you know what? We say that and we get the manager bounce and then we go losing again. But look, I'm one of them. I'm a firm believer. Before I die, Tottenham will give me some good times. They will give me them trophies I crave. May not be as soon as I want. Could be at a time where I might not even be able to get out of my wheelchair to be able to enjoy them. But they will give me that time, I'm sure, Darmo. Big yourself up, my man. And then we've got this from Chris Peters. Chris, good to see you. Everyone knows we need to go 3, 4, 2, 1, and 1. Do you know what the thing is with this, Chris, is we only have three centre-backs in Dragusin, Romero, and Van de Ven. What if we suffer one injury or one suspension? The whole system has to change again to a back four. We didn't bring in the personnel to allow him to go three at the back. And plus, Postecoglou mainly uses a four at the back. I think he has nearly everywhere he's gone. But this is the thing. And this is where I really sort of struggle to wrap my head around. You know, Conte came in here, played that three at the back, five at the back, whatever way you want to dress it up. But people said they hated it and that he needs to go four at the back would be better four at the back. Now we go four at the back under Postecoglou, and you're not the only one. A load of people are saying he needs to go three at the back, this, that, and the other. And it's just sort of like, personally, I hate the five at the back. I think four at the back can work and can work well. But, you know, like any back line, and even under Conte, we could ship a lot of goals, even though we had an extra body back there. What we really lack back there is a leader, someone that's going to call the shots, organize people, drag them into positions, etc., etc. We really miss that. But at the end of the day, he does not have the centre-backs available to him to be able to go three at the back and sustain it over the course of a whole season, 4 competitions. That's why I think, you know, he's definitely not switching, because even if he did want to, I don't think he has the personnel to be brutally honest with you, Chris. But big up, my man, and really do appreciate the support, lad. Hopefully you're keeping well. But look, let's keep this moving. Where are we off to next? Oh, sorry. Before we get on to it, guys, if there is anybody that does want to come on, I'll leave the link up there for another minute or so. After that, I will be taking it out. So please make it known that you do want to come on. But look, let's keep this moving. Where are we off to next? Instead of asking Jacko, I'll actually just look at the list.
I can help you out, Dave. I think it's Chris. Chris is next, and then it's Queen Ellie, then it's Michael, then it's Eugene. Anybody else that's being added in, I'll keep an eye on the order and I'll update it for you guys in the private chat. But yep, Chris is up next.
Chris, where is Chris? Here he is. Let's hear what he has to say. Chris, my man, great to have you back again. 2 weeks in a row. We're blessed. What did we do to deserve this?
I don't know where to start, David. I don't know if I'm more angry or disappointed about yesterday, to be fair.
Yeah.
But shall we start with the white horse in the room, which nobody's there to mention tonight?
Go on.
Romero. What the hell is going on with this guy? He's switched off yet again like a light switch. So quick he just switches off. Two weeks now, 2 games in a row, he switched off and led to goals. No one wants to mention him because he's our World Cup winning centre back. No, I don't care about his World Cup winning. He's playing for Tottenham now, not Argentina.
Do you know Some would say he was responsible for every goal that we've conceded. Yeah. Some people could make that case.
Yeah, they can. Okay, yeah, there was a little shove in his back, yeah, which people could say was a foul. Yeah, I get that. However, he needs to be stronger anyway. He's a centre back.
Chris.
Then you got Vicario. Hold on, David.
Sorry. Just on Romero, no excuse for him. The guy takes pushes in the back when he's going up and scoring and goes up the other end. He's more prolific and gets more corners up the other end than what he does down our end.
Yeah, David, I agree with that 100%, yeah. And the other white horse, Vicario. This guy is now proving that he's not capable of dealing with a simple corner. He can't handle the pressure. He buckles under that pressure week in, week out. Maybe we're wrong to sign him. No, yes, they showed a lot for me, right? There's players I've even given chances to, like Johnson. This guy, no, I don't even want to get started on him because I'm going to lose my rag. Believe me.
What is it that Johnson is? Maybe let's ask a different question around Johnson. What is it that he's failing to provide that we need right now?
David, he can't beat his own man. Time in, time out is going on the outside trying to get around him. Why not cut on the inside? And when he's got the opportunity to pass, he's shooting from no man's land. For 50 million, we got Sting coming by Nottingham Forest. They robbed us blind. They held a gun to our head for that, right? I was seeing a report here that we're now data driven. We don't need to see these players with our eyes. Well, if that is the case, the data was definitely corrupted for Johnson. Do you know what I mean? Because from what I saw yesterday, that was an utter disgrace.
On the Brennan Johnson one, I actually done research for a video. I've done 2.5 hours research for it there. A video we dropped over the international break. From the research I've done on Johnson, I don't think he actually came off the data-led scouting model. From what I've seen from various different outlets reporting on it, I think it was The Athletic and Sky Sports, that this was one that Ange Postecoglou actually wanted. This was the player that he wanted to be brought in on out wide. So I don't think this one is actually off the data model.
David, well, whatever Ange was drinking that day, I don't want to know because that is just so off the mark. It's ridiculous. I'm sorry, but Yes, they showed exactly what a talentless player he is. He's League One, if best.
Mm.
No,
Yeah.
yes, they showed a lot for the players we have. Romero is supposed to be one of our best defenders. And Van der Ven outshined him again. And he's just come back from injury.
Mm.
Do you know, watching the game, analysing it, we could have been 2 or 3 down, but if it wasn't for Van der Ven tracking back.
Yeah. Yeah,
think-
no, I agree. They had a couple of breakaways as well. You know that.
Yeah.
You're right. Where Van der Ven tracking back and getting in and stuff like that. When it comes to Dano here, though, Chris, he says we've got to start supporting our players. It's a long season.
Well, when you've given a player a whole season to prove himself, yeah, and he comes into the next season and still is doing the same thing as last season, there's no progression. He's just going through the motions, staying where he is, yeah. And while other teams in front of us are building a bigger, better team, getting stronger season by season, and we're just coasting. We're in first gear and they're in fourth gear. What more do we need to say?
Mm. So
Sorry,
do you have
but-
concerns around Andrew's talent ID then?
Yeah, I do. If he's judging on players like Johnson, I'm sorry, but no, that's where you've got to draw the line. Timo Werner, another one. Pointless signing. Yesterday, our front three was so blunt. Yeah, it was like taking a plastic knife to a fucking steak. It's ridiculous. It was that bad. It was so blunt. It was the bluntest performance at three I've seen for a very long time. And even Nottingham Forest front three is better than ours.
Overcooked steak with a plastic fur.
It's clear you're not happy with what's going on at Tottenham right now. And that,
No, of course not.
They say you can't sack a squad. The owners ain't going to sack themselves, and the manager's the usual one that takes the brunt, and he ends up getting sacked. So where are you at right now when it comes to Ange Postecoglou?
I'm close to getting off the train. Angie's biggest fault is this: he has not got a plan B. He has not. He's so one-dimensional. Every team sees what we're doing.
Yeah.
We're going to hit you on the counter attack, but we're going to leave a massive space at the back, and they're going to counter that.
Yeah, I agree.
We saw it against Newcastle. We've seen it against Leicester. We've seen it against Arsenal. We've seen it. We haven't been playing anywhere near our football since October last year. So there's not just this season. It's part of last season too. And there's been no progression.
Yeah.
Is that maybe something we didn't consider going into this season, Chris, as much as that we didn't end the season at all well? In fact, we ended it very, very poorly. Where
there's no excuse, Jack.
And then it's carried on into this season, right? So
Jack,
maybe that's where some of the frustration comes from.
There's no excuse, Jack. When we finished last season, that was that season done and dusted. Yeah, dust yourself down, get ready for this season, and progress. We haven't progressed. We've stalled. We've stalled in the middle of that busy freeway. You know what I'm saying? Like, we've stalled while everybody's flying past us.
Good analogy.
It's true. It's true, David. We've stalled. Yeah, every other people are flying past us in the league. Arsenal, City, even Newcastle. Villa still, even though they're going 2 goals down, they're still coming back and winning games. And we got 1-0 down, and we still pass around like it's 0-0.
Yeah. Do you feel like it's more tactical issues that's the reason why we are dropping points, or is it more just the execution from the players, Chris? Is it like an even 50-50? Is it more one versus the other? What
execution? What execution, Jack? we get into the final third, and then we just pass around like it's a fucking Sunday league game. Come on, man. You can't do that against Arsenal. That is the one game you don't do that.
Ange was asked last season, because it was a frustration last season that we weren't taking shots. And Ange was asked in the press conference, "Are you instructing your players not to shoot?" And he said, "No, I want them to shoot." So is that down to Ange Postecoglou? Is that down to the players themselves?
I don't know what it's down to, David, but they need to sort their act out, especially with it's not only the attack, right? It's the defense as well. You've got Vicario who's shaky. You've got 2 defenders don't know what each other doing. They're supposed Romero and Van der Ven were compared to Toby and Jan. They're no way on the levels, never in a million years on the levels of Toby and Jan. Toby and Jan had the understanding together. Seems now like Romero and Van der Ven still don't have that understanding together.
Fair enough. Fair
And
enough.
I'll tell you what, yeah, yesterday was a sickening performance. No heart, no spirit, no urgency.
Did their heads go down after they conceded? Do you feel like, Chris?
Their heads weren't up full stop, Jack, from the first minute.
Yeah.
Jack, you asked me if their heads were down. My answer is no, they weren't down because they weren't up in the first place.
Do you think then they're starting to lose faith in Ange, the players?
Do you know, it might be that, but I don't think it's Ange's the problem. The problem is the players themselves. They've got no fucking balls. They've got no mentality. They haven't got the balls to stand up for themselves. They're a bunch of weaklings, a lot of them.
No.
Well,
they talk the big talk in the press conferences, in their interviews, yeah, but they don't do the talking on the pitch.
Yeah,
They're cowards on the pitch.
They talk a big game before the games, but then when they're actually on the pitch, they don't seem to show it.
James Maddison, the ultimate example, giving him his big I am on his interview on Friday. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. We're going to... What the fuck did you do? Nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
And this is my thing. I'm sick of the lip service, you know. At the point, I don't want to. As a fan, I just want you to win games. Look,
exactly.
It's not entirely their fault. These big games come with a lot of media attention. The media pay big money for access to these games, and you know some players do have to go and represent the club in interviews, and they are asked these stupid questions.
Yeah,
but I do agree with you. You know,
well, David,
at this point, stop the media duties. Just concentrate on winning games of football.
No disrespect meant, David, yeah, like to the previous caller who was mentioning the stats. Yeah, the stats to me are totally irrelevant. I don't care if we had 63% possession. I don't care if we had 12 corners or whatever. Yeah. All that matters to me is winning that goddamn game.
Yeah.
No, fair enough. Fair enough. And look, I'm the exact same. I just want to win games of football. I'm tired of it now at this point. But Chris, we got to keep it moving, my man. Great call. Really appreciate your time.
Good to have you back, man.
Donovan Oosterreicher says the old general is on form tonight.
Yeah, so cheers, lads. And let's see what happens Wednesday. Will we beat Coventry? I'm saying nothing. I don't know no more. I really couldn't tell you.
Hey, let them prove you wrong, or just let them show up, Chris. No reason to put your neck out there. But great calling. Great calling.
For what it's worth, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs. Big up, Chris. You're a legend.
Chris. Great call, man, Chris. Great to have him back, by the way. You know, I really enjoy his contributions and having him back. So big up.
One of the most
Chris
passionate fans out there. I mean, I do laugh because he's excellent at the analogies and excellent at the responses, but he has probably one of the best passions, you know, that's shown of any of the fans. Really, it's just excellent from Chris. Excellent. I actually wish Chris was in the dressing room sometimes. You know, the way that he would speak to them. Absolutely,
I love it. It's
on.
no nonsense. Doesn't beat around the bush. Straight to the point. Absolutely spot on. Absolutely love that. The analogy of we're stopped dead on a busy freeway and everyone's rushing by. That's absolutely quality. Big up, Chris. We've got this from Faz Radfar. He says small things gone our way, we would have had 12 points. And that's the thing. And you look back at games. You look at the Leicester game, 100%. Stomach Solanke, some chances there, other chances we had. Put one of them away. Newcastle dominated the game at good breakaways, didn't avail of them. You look at the game yesterday, we had a period. I remember saying to Jack, I think once I count 5 chances or good opportunities to break away spurned, you almost know what's coming the other way. It's almost inevitable in football. It's just one of them weird things. And it's like, yes, it's down to fine margins, but at some point, these fine margins have to start clicking. And I think what we need to remember is we're not only taking it on face value of what we've seen this season. I'm also going from last October onwards all the way through to the end of the campaign, is quite concerning. And again, it was the same last season, dominated a lot of games, but didn't do anything with that dominance. And there's only so long that can last for. At the end of the day, it's about winning games of football. That's all it's about. That's what fans care about. You win, you're absolutely joyful. The world is fucking brilliant. You lose, the world's a horrible place to be, and you're miserable. That's the way it is. So results have to start following. We could sit here and look at all the stats and say, yes, it's going in the right direction. But I've always said the hardest thing to do is put the ball in the back of the net in football, and that's not what we're not doing right now, and it's a concern. But big up, Faz. Hopefully you're keeping well, sir. And we roll on to Coventry, and hopefully that's the good thing about being in 4 competitions. Games come and thick and fast. Football can change very, very quickly. So hopefully we can get the win Wednesday, Faz. Big yourself up, sir. Good to see you in the building and have you on board. Look, let's keep this moving. Where are we off to next? I think we've got 4
Queen Ellie
left. Oh, she's dropped out.
Oh, has she?
She has dropped out. So what we'll do is,
Oh,
Ellie, if
well,
you are
yeah.
watching,
Come back, Ellie, and
back
if you
in.
need the link, I can send it on over to you. If in case you lost it, because we just were about to bring you on, and you did lose your spot. But in order to be efficient, Dave, we'll just keep going. Next is Michael. After that would be Eugene. Then it's Sam. Then it's Adrian, and then it would be Donovan Osterreicher. So if you guys have the link saved, I would encourage that. But if you lose it, I can try to send it your guys' way. But the link by now should have been taken out, just in case you're wondering. But we're going to go on to Michael. Keep it efficient.
Big up, Mick. How you keeping, lad?
Big up, lads. How you doing?
Michael.
Yeah, exactly right.
Where are you at with this whole mess right now? There's so many conflicting emotions. Ange in, Ange out, blah, blah, blah. I mean, where are you at with it?
In terms of the game itself, I think this has been one of the worst experiences I had watching Tottenham, I think. And the reason why is whenever we are losing, and especially against Arsenal, let's take last season's game, for example, right, when we lost at home, I was furious, right? I was watching that game, I was having hope that something will stick, right? I was having hope that something will happen for us, right? And we actually let's not discuss the quality of the goals that we scored in that 2-3 loss, right? But we still had some goals, we had opportunities, right? We were really close to equalizing that game. The worst part about yesterday's game for me was the fact that since minute 15, I knew exactly how this game is going to go. And it's honestly haunting and really depressing, because I kid you not, boys, since minute 15, I knew it was going to be 1-0, not 2-0, not 2-1, not 3-2, not 2-1, whatever, right? I knew it was going to be 1-0, and I knew it's going to be a counter or a set piece, and I was just waiting for when, right? I wasn't. I knew how. I was just waiting for the moment, right? And the moment came, and I think this was the worst part, and I think Dermo shared my feeling, right, that I turned the game off and just went on with my daily duties, and didn't really I kid you not, last season my whole day was ruined after that 2-3, right? I was furious. I was walking around the flat, being snappy, whatever, right? And yesterday I was just disappointed, basically disappointed, right? This was the biggest issue I had with the game. So
just how predictable you felt like it was, the writing was on the wall.
Right?
You felt like it was scripted from the beginning.
Exactly right. And I have to say that when I was analyzing the game, the injuries that Arsenal had, right, and what type of midfield they are going to play, I the place where I thought we could hurt them was the midfield, because I thought that Jorginho and Partey, they are really good midfielders, both of them, but they aren't the most fast and physical, if you know what I mean. So when you put pressure on them, when you press them, when they are, playing the ball out of the back, you get a lot of joy from that, right? They aren't the two of them are more possession style midfielders, right? Where they have a lot of the ball, then they shine, right? The issue was that I felt like Arsenal set up perfectly against us, right? I think we didn't even get the chance to press Jorginho and Partey because of the way they set up, right? If you look at it, right, they basically set up in a low block, knowing full well that, first of all, they are physically much better than us, right? I don't know if you noticed, but most of them are 1.85 m, built like a brick shithouse, right? Whereas our team is a bit lightweight, I would say, and it's not bad, right? But when you look at Johnson, when you look at Odobert, when you look at Maddison, right, they aren't built big, right? So they knew that we pretty much cannot score goals from crosses or set pieces if they mark Romero and Solanke properly, right? Because those two guys are the only set piece threat that we have, right? They mark them out of the game during set pieces or during crossing, and the rest of them they didn't really care about, because they aren't aerial prowess players, right? Then I feel like they didn't give us opportunities to press them in the midfield. What they did was launch the ball up top to Havertz, Saka, or Martinelli, and they basically bypassed the midfield, which was a really good choice by Arteta. I have to say, Arteta completely outplayed us yesterday, and it pains me to say that. Trust me, it doesn't come easy to admit that, right? But as I said, as you, Jack, said, right, it was almost as if that game was scripted. Like it was almost as if when I was watching that game, I knew exactly how it was going to pan out. And honestly, for quite a bit of that second half, I was mostly hoping for a 0-0 draw. I was hoping that we will actually keep a clean sheet and, it will end goalless. But unfortunately, it didn't, right? And I get why people maybe are a bit like mad about the two-hand shove on Romero, right? I get it that by the letter of the law it can be considered
soft,
like a
though, right?
But it would be soft as fuck.
Yeah.
But I have to say one thing, right? If Romero is smarter about it, he should fall down like a bitch after that shove.
Yeah.
Because then it would bring
dramatized
attention to he should dramatize it, right? And then maybe VAR or the referee would take notice of what happened, right? Instead, he just got pushed away, turned around, and did this basically. Like, Romero, my guy, you have to fight for the ball. You have one. Gabriel is he has 16 goals since he joined Arsenal. 16 goals as a center back, right? He's the most dangerous center back in the league in terms of goal scoring, right? You cannot just allow him to be free in the penalty box, right? That's basically suicide.
Yeah,
like footballing suicide, right? So it was shocking, but boys, I think this game kind of exposed how big the gap is between the two teams, in my opinion, and it kind of exposed how lackluster this transfer window was for me. And I highlighted this, you boys highlighted this, right? I wasn't satisfied with the window, and again, I have to stress this. I'm not against bringing in guys like Odobert, Bergvall, Gray. I am actually happy that we got them, right? But we should have done more. We should have brought senior experience, right?
Yeah.
Because when you look at it, right, whether you want to say Maddison had a good game or not, right? I am personally in the box that he couldn't really affect the game with the way it was, right? When he doesn't have a good game, we don't really have experience backups to bring in and try to change the game, right? As much as I rate Bergvall as a youngster, I don't think we should put the pressure of changing a North London derby fortune on his shoulders, right? When he's 18 and barely getting his first kicks in the senior game, right? So and you can make the similar case in different areas of the pitch, so I won't go all over it, right? But I also have to say that I really am angry with Ange with this game, and I am really angry with how in general we are set up, right? Because when you have a star like Son Heung-min, right, he's the best player in that team, and I won't let anyone change my mind. He is and probably will be for another couple of years the best player in this team, right? And what he's best at, what he excels at the most is scoring goals, right? He's the most clinical finisher, one of the most clinical finishers in the world, right? So when you put him so far on the left that he cannot really get himself into opportunities to even take a shot, he didn't have a shot in that game, right? No shots by.
He was more of a creator than really a goal
exactly
threat
right.
in the game. Yeah.
Exactly right. So my question is, okay, you want to play him left wing? I'm fine with that, right? But play him as an inside forward, not the wide winger is hugging the touchline, right? Also, Destiny Udogie, when he was best in Udinese, was overlapping. He was a wing back overlapping, right? So if you got those two players, why are you inverting Udogie and overlapping Son instead of changing it the other way around and using them both to the best of their abilities?
And you could argue the same with Pedro Porro, right? Using his crossing ability on the other side also, using the overlap and run.
One thing I will say with Pedro Porro and Johnson, right? Because Johnson, by the way, the performance was shocking. Same thing with Werner, right? But one thing I will say with Johnson, he's actually right-footed, right? Which kind of suits, profile-wise, to make him overlap, to make him the touchline winger, right? Because if he was left-footed, then he would be more suited to cutting in and shooting, right? Like Sonny is right-footed on the left side, right? So he I know Sonny is both-footed, right? But in the books, he's right-footed, right? Predominantly, he is right-footed, right? So you make use of that right foot of his, right? I think with Johnson, that's why he's being the basically cutback merchant, right, in our team, because he's right-footed. It suits him more to put the balls across the box, right? And Pedro Porro, like, I think he's good enough to do the inverted role, right? So side, I'm not really that mad with, but the left side for me is especially mad considering how good Son Heung-min is, right? I think we should use him better, right? So go on, Dave.
You know why I get frustrated on the right-hand side? Because I truly believe if you had Kulu cutting in on the left and you had Pedro Porro taking players on the overlap on the right, you know, you've got two what I would call very good crosses of the ball. I do think Kulusevski is a good crosser of the ball, you know, and I think it'll cause a lot of havoc. You know, I think we'll get a lot of goals down that side, and that's where my frustration comes in. But Michael, you know, we got to give you time to answer Jerome here. He says, Arteta outplayed us, ? Sorry, but Arsenal did not play football but parked the bus like Forest. If the attack had their shooting boots and we win that game, we nullify their attack.
No, I don't agree with that. Listen, people, and sorry, Jerome, that's my opinion, right? If you have a different opinion, then that's okay, right? But in my opinion, many people mistake possession with domination or possession without playing the opposition, right? Like, teams can set up to give you ball, right? I think Arsenal knew exactly well enough that if they give us all the ball and pack the box with a 5-4-1 formation, right, like they did against us, that we aren't going to have enough quality to break them down. And it showed in the game. Like, honestly, Jerome, did we have, other than the Solanke chance, right? Solanke chance, I will give you that, right? But other than the Solanke chance, we didn't have a clear-cut opportunity in the game. None, right?
You don't think Johnson had any good chances that he could have done with?
I wouldn't. Like, he was on the edge of the penalty box, shooting like from a tight angle. I wouldn't call it like a clear-cut opportunity, you know, because what I mean is that if you break the defense down, you create a clear-cut opportunity, like a one-on-one with the keeper, right? Or a shot from really close distance, right, in the middle of the penalty box, or you take a really good header, right? We had none of that, in my opinion. I think all the shots that we took in that game were, yes, if we scored that, it would have been a goal, right? But it wasn't like the possibility of scoring them was high, in my opinion. That's what I mean, right? So I think Arsenal came to us knowing full well that if they give us the ball and set up in a defensive block of 5-4-1 or 4-4-2, that we aren't going to be able to break them down, right? This is what I mean by outplaying. Yes, we had all the ball, right? But we did fuck all with it. Let's be honest, right? That's my point. And I know I'm maybe being a bit harsh on some of the players, but that's the way I see how this game panned out, right? And overall, I have to say that, yeah, as I said, I am disappointed. I think we got outplayed in a sense that Arsenal knew exactly how to approach this game. They had a plan and they executed it really, really well, even though the plan wasn't the most like glorious football. You know, it's not like they outplayed us. They had 65% possession, slapped us 4-0, you know, like clear-cut opportunities, whatever, right? But they had a plan. They executed the plan. They got 3 points and they went out of our home, right? And injury, like depleted Arsenal on a second gear, came to our ground and we didn't score a goal, right? For me, that's outplaying. That's the way I see this game, right? But as I said, you know, honestly, the way I see it, right? It's as I said, after that game finished, I switched the TV off and went on with my life, right? And I honestly think that as much as it hurts to lose to them, I still stand by my opinion that the Coventry game is more important, and I still stand by the opinion that trophies, Europa League and FA Cup and Carabao Cup are way more important to me this season than, and it's honestly the case in every season, right? That I really want to get that monkey off our back, right? And I really want us to actually treat those trophies with the respect they deserve, and especially considering what kind of team we are and how many of them we win, which is none, right? Pretty much none, right? Yeah. In the recent history.
The last one was the Carabao Cup, you know.
Yeah, so the last one, And
Well-
honestly, if you gave me an opportunity to finish 4th and no trophies, or finish 8th outside of Europe and with a Carabao Cup, I'm taking the Carabao Cup every day of the week and twice on Sunday, right?
Same here.
So that's the way I see it, right? And with Ange out, I am personally not Ange out. As I said, I'm not. Ever since I became a Spurs fan, like, he's the first manager to survive a full season from the beginning to the end, right? So I am not Ange out. I don't think it will benefit us to sack him, especially because I don't think there are like necessarily amazing managers out there that could replace him and play like a brilliant brand of football, right? But I also think this team is better than what we are seeing from them. I think this team is capable of conceding less and scoring better goals. I think we have some qualities that we should use. I'm just not sure if Ange is using the players well.
Mhm.
And I said at the beginning of the season, what I want to see the most this season is for him to actually adapt and for him to realize when he's making a mistake and adapt and, consider what strengths of the opposition are. And honestly, the Arsenal game didn't show me that, right? So, but as I said, I'm not Ange out, but I want him to actually use his brain more.
No, I get you, Michael.
Right? And again, it's like,
Just
don't get me wrong, people in the chat, right? I think healthy criticism is healthy, right? I think when I see something that we are not doing great, I will call it out. But as I said, I'm not Ange out. I am fully backing the project still, right? But I think the transfer window was underwhelming. I think Ange needs to improve with the way he sets up some of the players. As I said, mainly Udogie and Son. Those are the two worst, in my opinion, in terms of how we are not using them to their best ability. And I think some of the players need to take it on the chin, looking at you, Romero, right? I think if who said it? Dermo said it, right? If you want to go to Real Madrid, go to Real Madrid and don't waste our time, right? If you want to play for this team, like you always say, because he always goes out in the press and say that he is here at home, he loves playing for the club, right? He's committed to the project. If you are, then show us, right? Because you could seriously make a point that in every single of the 4 games we played, you are culpable for every single one of the goals in some shape or form, and sometimes directly responsible for us conceding the goal, right? So if you are the leader of the backline, then fix the fuck up, right? Because those
agree, Michael.
performances are not acceptable, right? Mickey van de Ven is playing his heart out. Mickey van de Ven is the only player in that North London derby that can go out and with his head held high and actually say that I put in my heart into that game, right? That's the way I see it.
Great points, Michael. Great calling, man.
Like Shawnee says here, completely agree with you, Michael. Great points, my man.
I wish we could let you go on for a lot longer. And, that's why we're missing you on those pre-match build-ups, man. We would love to be able to have you on that. Just
30 seconds if I can, right? I have a Tottenham pyjama. It's actually a pyjama, right? My
nice.
girlfriend bought it for me. It's really ironic that it came today after the loss of that's the way it is. It's actually really comfy, so I recommend it, right? And I have to say that I was saying that I think if one of my teams loses this weekend, the second one does. So sorry, my Speedway team lost on Friday, and that's why I think Tottenham lost on Sunday. I can take it on the chin, me and the whole of my.
It's all your fault. Now we know who to blame. Thank you, Michael. Now we know.
Link to them PJs, though. Make sure you send me a link to them PJs. I'll definitely get some of them.
They were on the club's side.
Well, we'll do it for the fantasy update. We'll try to find it on the fantasy update, and we'll spend the money on that. Thank you, Michael. Great call, man. And I mean that. Come on the pre-match build-ups because I think people would love to be able to hear from you. And great points that you make. It's a really busy night tonight, so we have to hold you. Kind of the 10 or so minutes. So appreciate you, man. Have a good night. And I mean that. Come on the pre-match build-ups. We're missing you.
Yeah, the thing is that my girlfriend works a lot during the week, so usually I try to spend weekends with her, right? And sometimes when the match is at 4 p.m. my time, 3 p.m. we are doing something with the girlfriend, preparing dinner, or even watching TV, right? But I want to spend time with her, so
totally.
I sometimes don't, but I would try. I promise I would try.
If you're free for the Coventry one, I'll sort it out.
Yeah, just text Dave though. Text Dave, when you want to come on, and we would love to have you. But great call, man.
100%. I promise I will be during the Coventry game.
Love it. Come on, you Spurs. Great call, Michael.
Great call, boys. Have fun with the show.
Thank you,
Same to
man.
you,
Thanks for your
Bye-bye.
patience.
Very nice PJs from Michael there. I need to get them onto my Christmas list, that's for sure. Styling it out, absolutely love it. Michael's a bit like me, Spurs everything. You know, if you need something, you see if you can get a Spurs version. Absolutely love that from Michael. I think I'm coming down with a chest infection from my walking. It's not doing me, it's doing my weight good, but it's not doing my chest any good. We've got a couple of super chats here. One from Jerome. He says, Kulu had an opportunity in the first half, but Ray made a great save. Again, if Son or Madison tried to shoot instead of passing, we win. If Romero did not switch off, it would have been a draw. No, look, 100%. Oh, go on.
I kind of, even though Michael had his points, I think we all see the game differently, especially a game like that one. It's very hard to get your head around. I actually agree with Jerome more than I did with Michael on this. I do think that Spurs do create a lot of chances, and I can see why people think we don't create clear-cut chances. But the only reason I think that's the case is we find ourselves in really good areas with really good opportunities, but we are so terrible in the final third that we don't even end up creating a real chance from it, even though I think most teams would. Most teams in the situations that we find ourselves in the final third, I would think would get at least a shot on target, or at least make the keeper work, or make it look even more like a clear-cut chance. But we end up having like 3-on-2s, 4-on-3s, times when we're turning the ball over right in front of the opposition goal, and we end up seeing it go out for a corner, or end up seeing it go out for like a throw in. That's how bad we are in some of these opportunities. So I actually agree with Jerome that I do think we had enough chances, especially in the first half, to go on and probably have 1 or 2 goals. You know, I think Johnson had some chances towards the end of the first half. Kulusevski, in my opinion, had 1 or 2 chances that he either ended up skewing wide, or he didn't even get a shot off because he just ended up, I think, taking too long or got it stuck under his feet. Solanke had that wonderful opportunity that he should have done better with in the first half. I just think that Spurs are so pathetic in the final third that it makes it look like we're not creating clear-cut chances, when in fact I think we are. We just don't even get close to the goal when we find ourselves in these chances, and that's how pathetic it is. Whereas other teams, when I watch them, they'll like have half a chance, a quarter of a chance, and they'll be burying it, you know, from 30 yards out, you know, that type of team. So I just think Spurs, I agree with Jerome, are just pathetic in the final third, and it leaves us very confused as fans, whether it's the system or whether it's just the players. And in my opinion, it more falls on the players just not being clinical enough and not making good decisions, or also just being honestly poor in the final third. I agree with Jerome. I think you're on mute there, Dave.
I said 100%. I think, you know, for me, again, I think that's the biggest problem. Did Arsenal outplay us? I don't think they did, but did their game plan work to full effect? I think, which is a different thing altogether. Yes, it did, you know. But in terms of us going forward again, we just shoot ourselves in the foot, you know. I see many people speaking about the high line after this game. Look, the high line wasn't the problem. It was the set piece that got us out. Like I said, Ange can't make a player stay switched on for every single set piece. That's within the player. But going forward as well, Ange can't make the decisions for these guys on the ball. You know, his system gets them up in the final third. It gets them in the position to be able to rip teams apart, even pressing out of possession. How many times do we turn it over in good positions against Newcastle and Arsenal, but not make the most of it? You know, like Jack keeps saying, other Premier League clubs would get the shots off on goals. And for me, you know, I'm not quite sure. Even if you revert back to a counter-attacking approach, yeah, you might got the defense to play it, but do we have the forward line to play it? That's the big thing. Like I said, you know, under Conte and Jose, it worked because they had 2 world-class players up front. That made it work. We don't have that now. So is it really going to work? I'm not quite so sure, Jerome.
I agree with Jason Bell's comment, and I think Jerome would too. We are incredibly wasteful and usually blow it before you can even actually call it a chance. That's what I mean. Yeah. We're so pathetic that we actually don't even end up, you know, creating a chance from what I think are excellent opportunities and moments. And that's just part of it for me. I think that's a great way to explain it, Jason. Well, at least that's how I see it personally. And he also says many ifs and maybe hence why I'm gutted, since I don't think we deserve to lose any of those 3 games. I'm also in the same boat as Jerome, where I'm getting tired of the whole, like, we played well trophy. But I do think in a lot of these games for large periods, we are playing really well. We just end up shooting ourselves in the foot by not taking our moments and not being clinical enough. If we are clinical, we do find ourselves probably a goal ahead, 2 goals ahead before we end up conceding, before we end up putting the pressure on ourselves. The issue is that we're so wasteful in the final third that it just stays 0-0 until like the 60th, 70th minute. And then the other team is eventually going to score. That's part of the system. It's part of I think the risks that we take in possession, the risks that we play with this high line. But to be honest, I think most of these games, we should have already been up by 2 goals, 3 goals before we even ended up conceding towards the end in the second half. That's just how I see the last 3 games. And I actually agree with
100%.
Jerome here.
100%. And this is the big thing. And I think this is the one thing Ange Postecoglou is trying to get across in a lot of his press conferences. If we take our chances, you don't allow the opposition a chance to get back in the game. And that's the thing. You're out of sight. You've got them dead and buried. And that's where we need to get to. But I am concerned about the quality we have across the forward line, that we don't quite have the players to be that killers right across this season. I feel like it might be after something again they might have to look at in January if Ange Postecoglou gets that far. But at some point, it has to start clicking, because if not, unfortunately, it will cost Ange Postecoglou his job. But like I said, when it comes down to decision-making and stuff like that, that's not his fault. That's just the individual players that we have. It's one big frustrating mess. Look, what I will say is Coventry, Arsenal was a missed opportunity. Coventry's the ideal opportunity to try and get us back on track.
Well
so hopefully we take it, Jerome. Big yourself up, my man. And I feel the frustration. I really do feel it. I take a North London derby defeat personally. It really hurts. Like yesterday, we finished 4 or 5 o'clock, maybe a bit later, 6. I turned off my phone. I went to bed. I didn't wake up till this morning. I just couldn't handle it. I take it personally, and I just want to start winning games of football, Jerome.
I agree wholeheartedly with Jerome. I think people are welcome to disagree with what I've said, what Jerome said, but I'm 100% in Jerome's camp on this. I think majority of the time it's the players. I don't think they're helping Ange out, and I think they're being incredibly wasteful. And I'd agree with him on a lot of this. By the way, just everyone, before we get to Jerome's next super chat, Queen Ellie has come back in. So Queen Ellie, please stay in the call before we move on from you. We will have you next. And then afterwards, I believe it's going to be Eugene, and then Sam, and then Adrian, and then Donovan. If you are still listening, hopefully you have the link saved, because we do have your spot saved. But then after that, I don't think we're taking any more guests, by the way, unless someone has it saved and they're coming in towards the end. But sorry, Dave. Yeah.
No. And then Jerome says, I can see that Ange give them clear instructions, follow tactics from the back to the middle. Then the players is free inside the box, as it's up to them to score. Look, like I said, I do think, we can obviously see what they're trying to do on the football pitch, right? We can all see it. And like I said, this system puts us in that position quite regularly. It dominates teams. It forces them back. But like I agree with you, Ange Postecoglou can't make these players make the decisions. But part of me also thinks maybe sometimes they're going against totally what Ange is asking them to do going forward, because they know if they lose that ball, they have to make a 70, 80-yard sprint backwards. And I can tell you now, no athlete or no footballer wants to be doing that. And I don't care who you are. No one wants to be making 70, 80-yard sprints all the time, because they are exhausting. They are tiring. You have to stop, recoup, get your breath and stuff like that. So I also feel like the players are skimping out because they don't want to do that running backwards. And if that is the case, I think it's simple communication between squad and manager, and simple find a little solution. Either ask one of your fullbacks to sit in, or ask your CDM to sit in there, make a back three, not leave yourself so exposed on the counter, so they don't have to make as much lung busting runs backwards. So hopefully that simple communication can take place before the whole fucking thing blows up, Jerome. That would be nice.
Yeah.
Big up, though. Good to see you.
I think you answered it perfectly. Well done,
and Michael also comes back in here. He says, maybe let me correct myself. Arsenal had a clear plan and it worked 100%. We had a plan and it didn't work. That's 100%. That's what I thought you were maybe trying to get across for sure. And he says, also, there's a slight chance that I won't be able to make it for the pre-commentary since we have huge. Well, I apologize about that. First and foremost, make sure you stay safe. Much love to you and the family. Hopefully you look after yourselves and stuff like that. A few sandbags. Ireland, are all around Ireland when rain comes in. There's flooding everywhere, left, right, and centre. So hopefully you can avoid it, because I know the misery and that it can cause, and the inconvenience and that. So make sure you and the family look after yourselves. Big Mick, look, let's keep this moving. We'll bring on Queen Ellie. Let's hear what she has to say. Ellie, long time no see. How are you?
Hello, guys. Do you know what? I agree with a lot of things that are being said, especially what Jack just said about our finishing. It's quite atrocious, really. And, football's a game of fine margins occasionally, right? I know there's some games where you get totally outplayed, but no one can tell me that Arsenal outplanned us. They outplanned us, but they didn't outplay us. All right. And we had our chances. There weren't all clear-cut chances, but Brennan Johnson, come on. I don't agree with Michael. He could have scored that easily. It wasn't that tight an angle because I was on that side. I was in the north stand, just above the Gooners. Oh, my God. I had to put up with that. Singing, Postecoglou, what can it mean to I won't say it. The next line, I'm not going to say it. First of all, he's Greek. He's not Aussie. Sorry, Aussies, I'm playing him. He's Greek, right? So, listen, as a Greek lady, I feel like a passion towards Postecoglou, obviously, because I'm Greek myself, right? But he's making simple mistakes in regards to the tactics. And like I'm going to quote Brian Clough here, right? Football is sport by footballers. They don't follow his ideology, right? His ideology is to get back, like high risk, high reward, right? So you're playing a high risk by playing the high line. You're pressing them high. You're pressing them right up the top to the middle to the defence, right? And you're leaving yourself exposed where, like you said, Dave, some players don't want to bust a gut and do 60, 70-yard dashes back.
Am I right about that, though, Ellie? Like you've played the game yourself. It's like, especially as an attacking player, it's one thing you don't want to do.
You don't want to do it because you want to use your creative juices and your energy to create, right? But sometimes in football, you have to do things that you don't want to do, right? I done my bit, but I was really relying on that number 6, and we don't have a number 6. We don't, because Bentancur, however good he is, he's not the same player as what he was before the ACL. We can clearly see that. He's struggling, the lad, all right? And he is creative, right? But he's not a natural number 6. We dropped Basuma into that role last season, right? We dropped him back, didn't we? And he was playing that sort of number 6 role. But he needs to get forward as well because Basuma is fantastic at getting forward. We know that. Obviously, he was missing for this game, so it was a big loss in that respect because we saw against Everton, he played out of this world, right? He was fantastic, and I was expecting him to play, but because he was injured, I thought, now this is going to be really tough because I thought the first 10 minutes we had them. If we'd scored in that first 10 minutes, I think we go on to win the game because we had all the momentum. And then suddenly it was like we run out of puff, we run out of ideas. We were faffing about, passing side to side, giving it to Johnson, who was doing absolutely nothing with it. Right? I like to give players a chance, but that lad I've come.
I mean, how many chances does he need, though, Ellie? Like, this is the thing. He's had chance after chance after chance after chance.
You want to give him a chance, isn't it?
Yeah.
How many chances does the boy need? And like you look at his stats, they say, oh, he scored 5 goals and 10 assists. But the thing is, he wasted about 30 assists. That would have been 30 goals. So it's not how many chances you create. How many chances you should have created with the skill that you're supposed to be having. I don't see it with Brennan Johnson. I can't get my head around it, guys. Is he Postecoglou?
You know what it is, Ellie?
And that's why he's getting in? I don't know. It just baffles me why he's playing.
Do you know what it is, Ellie? When it comes to players now, I don't bother looking at the stats. I feel like I'm a good judge of the seeing eye test, and I can judge in front of me what I'm seeing, Like, if I'm seeing a guy that's not beating a player, cannons the ball off the guy, and that's marking him every single time he gets the opportunity, and you know, I don't need stats to try and tell me how he's a good player in what areas and shit like that. You know, I can see he's a good impact sub. He's not a good starter. You know, these teams he should have this amount, or he's done this amount. It pisses me off. You know, it's the same with Timo Werner. Makes this amount of runs. Isn't he fantastic? Great. But when the ball's at his feet, what the fuck does he do? Absolutely nothing. Don't get me wrong. Stats can help guide and shape opinions and maybe, you know, tell you you're wrong in a certain area and stuff like that. But when it comes to a player, always trust the good old C&I test. You know, you can tell a player if he can control a ball, pass a ball, and do it consistently, you know, and stuff like that. But Ellie, where do you sit on the whole Ange Postecoglou then? You know, this is the big debate. You know, are you losing patience? Do you think we need to go through this pain, double down, stick by him?
I'm split. I really am split with Postecoglou because I think he's doing some things good, but a lot bad lately because the substitutions, we should have brought on Bergvall. Like, my name's Queen Ellie Bergvall for starters. And you told me to use Bergvall. I was VDV until Dave opened his mouth and said, no, you've got to be Bergvall, Ellie. So I was thinking, bring on Bergvall because he's a creative player. He links up play so well and he gets us driving forward. You can see the lad's got skill, right? And he follows the ball. He tracks the ball. He's always close with the ball, right? And he reminds me a lot like Glenn Hoddle. He's not there. He's not quite Glenn Hoddle yet, but he's got the potential. So give him a run. Give him a run, right? Why did we buy these young players? Why have we got him getting splinters on the bench? 40 million we paid for Gray. We played 47, 48 for Johnson. He's getting a start, right? And Gray hasn't even had a look in yet.
Is that not a reflection of our transfer business, though, Ellie? That maybe Ange Postecoglou, doesn't believe in the business, and that you know, because that's it for me. You look at the lineup that we're using. Solanke's the only real signing that we've made that is in that lineup. The rest are all on the peripheries, you know, or like an Udeberg, like a Gray, like a Bergvall. And to me, that shows that Ange Postecoglou probably is pissed off with this summer to a degree, and that he doesn't trust the business that the club have brought in.
Yeah, if you listen to Postecoglou, there's undertones of what you just said, Dave. Right? I don't think they're his choices, because when I remember him saying the club is trying hard to get us the players that we need. Right? Don't tell me all those players, if they were the players that he wanted and he really thought that he was his first choice, they'd be in the first team, wouldn't they, Dave? Come on.
Yep, 100%.
Wake up and smell the coffee. Wake up and smell the coffee. Ben Kaufman, come on, make us a coffee. Right? You know what I mean? It's just silly. It's just silly. It just proves that they weren't his first choice. All right? But in pre-season, I was at the QPR game. I went to the QPR game. My husband couldn't go because he was too bad. But I went and I was with the QPR fans, but there was quite a lot of Spurs fans in there as well. And we were all saying, Mikey Moore, he stood at head and shoulders above every single player. And Alfie Devine, he was playing some lovely balls. And he looks like he can control a midfield, you know. And this is a young lad that we brought, and we haven't even given him a looking into the first team. We've been putting him out, and he's not even been playing in the other teams all the time. All the loanees we've been putting out. Look at Dane Scarlett, right? He's out at Oxford. He was on the subs bench, didn't even get on.
Yeah.
So how we developing these players? Give them a chance at our club. Listen, it's not as if we've got miracle workers in our team who are creating, right? We're faffing about. Like, I'll tell you what, I was so frustrated, Dave and Jack. I was screaming my head off. Sonny made two brilliant runs, two fantastic runs, right, across that D, right? And Romero was bringing the ball out, and he was screaming. I could hear him. You know when Sonny screams, he's like me. His voice goes high pitched and like you. He's got a sore throat, Dave, right? He's going,
yeah.
Right, and he's not passing the ball. He's holding it on.
Yeah.
It's like he's making love to the ball. Give the bloody ball quick, you know. But you know, Romero, I'm not digging him out completely, because when he does make a pass, it's quite sublime, and it can be.
Yeah, he is a good passer of the ball. normally.
Yeah, it's a very good pass, but this game he was holding the ball too long.
Do you know what though, Ellie? It's not just this game. For me, I find where he really becomes frustrating is when we're actually losing games.
Yeah,
Or drawing games, and you're thinking, show a bit of urgency, start putting that ball forward, and he slows it right down, allows all 11 players to get behind the ball. That's it. Set up in front of us, do exactly what you've worked on all week. It's really frustrating, the lack of urgency when we're trying to chase a game is absolutely killing me from that guy. It's really frustrating. And I understand it from the player's point of view. It is a way of controlling the game. Get everybody back in their own half. We can see what's going on. It's up to us breaking them down. But I think what they really need to understand is sometimes the urgency, and sometimes, this is where it comes down to split second decision making by the players. Yes, the manager will give you some ideas and philosophies, but that also comes with, and every manager's not naive to know that also comes with a bit of leeway for players to make decisions within them sort of instructions. To speed it up is a decision that some of these players should really start taking into account, instead of trying to play through 11 men.
Also, Dave, I'd like to make a point, right? So at the moment we're playing Johnson on the left on the right, and Sonny on the left, right? Waste of space, and waste of resources, in my opinion. Right, okay. Sonny, I think Sonny should play like a roaming player across the D.
Playmaker.
A playmaker, right? And then we should have Porro as a right winger, not a right wing back, and then put Dragushin at right back. That player can defend. We saw it against Newcastle when he'll track back, and he wants to prove a point to Postecoglou. So he's got the fire in his belly to make a difference in defence. And then Romero by him, and then VDV and Udogie will be much more solid, because Arsenal, right, they defend like Trojans. They defend as a team, right? They don't drop back, they defend, right? We've got the defenders to do just as good as them. Do you think Romero's not as good as Gabriel?
Do you know what it is, Ellie?
Or Saliba? He is.
There's just no desire, in terms of, wanting to do that side of the game. And this is the thing, you either have it in you or you don't, And for me, this is why I think, there's a bit more work for Postecoglou to do in terms of teamwork, because players are slacking and not taking up responsibility for others, and it really hurts other people. But Ellie, really appreciate your time this evening, but unfortunately, I do have an Indian, waiting for me, and no one gets between me and my food, so we have to keep this moving, Ellie.
It's true. Let me just quickly big up my new channel with Adrian Schroker, Ian Meff, and Chang. It's called Spurs Diehards TTID, and also Mark and I, we're going to do a fun football show every Thursday.
Nice.
Where we take the piss and we have a laugh, and we don't. Sometimes, guys, it's good to let your hair down and have a good old belly laugh, because football can be up and down, and the North London derby, it's one of those games that makes you really sad when you lose. Like you said, Dave, you went to bed. I went to bed, shut all the lights. I didn't care about any comment that Postecoglou was going to make after the game, and I haven't even watched most of his press conferences. I watched a couple of bits here and there, but I was so upset that we lost, and listening to those Arsenal fans and seeing Gabriel's pearly whites. I hate that player.
I hate him too, Ellie.
He's got the most whitest teeth on the earth. And he was right in front of me, guys, and he was smiling, and he's such a passionate player, though.
Just seeing them guys have fun. Just seeing them guys have fun is absolutely killing me. Like that chant you sang, I've seen it all over social media. Seeing them have that sort of fun in our stadium absolutely kills us.
I'm right above it. I'm right above it in the disabled section, because I had a really bad fall, but I'm disabled anyway in terms of my circulation. But you know what? I was in the North Stand last time we lost to Arsenal, and I knew it. I thought I'm not going to get into the South Stand, because I gifted my ticket to Jose, right? But he couldn't go, and I couldn't buy that ticket back because I put it back on the exchange. But then I gifted it to my cousin, right? I wanted him to go where I go, and you have to stand where I go. So anyway, have a lovely.
Great calling, Ellie. Thanks for coming on.
sorry
Thanks
for
for your
the pet,
patience
guys.
and good to have you back on. It was great to have you back on and hear
take
from you.
care and come on the Irish Hotspur, the land, the place to be, guys and girls, the place to be.
Thanks,
with
Ellie.
Dave and Jack.
Very good
Take
to
Great
us.
to have you
guys.
back.
Up the
Absolutely great to
Spurs.
have you back.
Bye
Very
bye.
good to us.
Come on.
Bye, Ellie.
Bye-bye.
Have a good night.
See you, Ellie. Have a good
And you.
evening.
Bye.
Have a good evening. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Great to have Ellie back. One of the OGs, one of the GOATs. Good to have her back and good to see her back. Make sure you get over to Spurs Diehards TV. Getting the hiccups now. Make sure you subscribe over there and smash that like button, smash that subscribe button and try and help Ellie out in her new adventure. But look, let's keep this moving. I think you said Eugene, if I'm correct.
Yes, I think it was. Let me just check.
Check
I don't want to piss anybody off.
I need a quick check.
I think it's Eugene, and
Yeah.
then Sam, and then Adrian, and then Donovan.
Grand job. These will be the last 4 guests we will be taking this evening. Like I said, got some food there. Your boy's stomach is rumbling, so unfortunately we can't take any more tonight. But let's bring on Eugene. Really like this guy. Really like his calls so far and what he's had to say.
Good
And I'm
humor
actually
in the
gonna
chat
pick
as
him up
well.
with one of his comments from the very beginning of the show today, and get his thoughts on it. Just quickly, I'll find it. Eugene, you said Anjin, players out. Explain.
Hey, big up, guys. Thanks for having me.
Good to see you, man.
Yeah, I mean, Ange in with a question mark. I'm still backing Ange. As I said before, every manager, I gave them at least 2 years. I do have some questions for Ange, just given his unwillingness to adapt. But my biggest issues are with the leadership committee, which needs to be disbanded. I mean, we talk about tactics, right? But when everybody gets on Johnson, who is crap, by the way, nobody's making an excuse for him that, oh, the tactics are bad. He's crap because he's crap. But I feel like for Sonny and Madison, but mostly for Sonny, people always make excuses. I love Sonny. He's great. And that goes for him, Madison, and Romero. If you're a great player, regardless of the tactics of the system, you need to offer some moments of brilliance where you change the game.
Is that harsh though, Eugene? Because he has been our most prolific player out of all the 4 players we have.
I'm sorry, Son?
Yeah. Out
Not
of all
this
4
year.
players we had under Ange Postecoglou, he has been, the most prolific. So is that a bit harsh? Is that maybe why the excuses get made for Son more than Johnson, because Son often delivers more?
Oh, of course. No, of course. Obviously, Sonny has done a lot for the club. And again, that's why everybody's going to love Son, regardless of what he does from now on. But strictly speaking about this season, he hasn't offered enough. Again, I have no idea why he stopped shooting from outside the box. It makes no sense to me. There is no way that Ange told him or anybody else stop shooting. Every goal that we score is the same goal. We want to walk in the ball into the net, or that slow cross from the wings. It makes no sense to me. We stop shooting the ball. Best Sonny's attribute is that curler from outside the box in the top corner, and there is no reason why he defers as much as he does right now. So again, I understand, with dog inverts, he might not have enough space. Same goes for Madison. But if you're a top player, you find a way to make an impact, especially if you're the captain. The leadership committee, we look for them to step up. Romero, he might have great 80% of the game, but once per game he loses focus, he makes a mistake, and we pay for it every single time, just like he did on that set piece. Madison, he runs around, he jogs around for 20 minutes, does some nice moves, but again, when it matters, he's not there. And with Sonny, in the past, he was always that guy. Him and Kane, they always stepped up, right? Against City, again in big games. When we needed somebody to step up, Sonny and Kane always did. But this year, and maybe end of last year, I don't know what happened. Maybe the captaincy is too big for Son. He feels like he has more responsibility on his shoulders. He feels like he needs to get everybody else involved. But given that he's our best player by far, he should be the one taking charge and take those shots. I feel like just our best players are letting us down. It's easy to blame Johnson and blame everybody else because, of course, they're
Can I ask you a question on that leadership group quickly? Because you have to spark in the thought. Like, you know, many of us, we sit here, we talk about set pieces, we talk about, you know, the system, we talk about, you know, our inability to be able to bounce back through adversity in games and stuff like that. All them issues we speak about, is the leadership actually the biggest issue at Tottenham Hotspur? No. Because, you know, you look at some of the set pieces, that could be easily resolved if you had someone in there barking orders, keeping players switched on, telling them who to mark, taking the responsibility. You look at the second goal against Newcastle, Romero's trying to play the offside trap, Tree are trying to play, you know, cover in behind, which again could be easily resolved with one shot caller. And then, you know, some of the games where we face a bit of adversity, that's where you need your leadership to stand up, galvanize people and stuff like that. And they're not doing it. So do you think that the leadership is actually Ange's biggest problem with this?
Oh, definitely. And I think that's been our biggest issue for a decade, for the longest time, right? Kane was never a leader too, right? He's a world-class player. He's not vocal. He's not a leader. Son is the same thing. And I think that's why Son might be off his game, because now he's thinking too much about, you know, all the other responsibilities that he has, instead of just focusing on scoring. We lack leaders on and off the pitch. It's clear when things are tough, we're a front-running team. When things are great, everybody's having a good time, high-fiving, smiling. However, when things get tough, like as Michael said, after the first 15 minutes, I knew exactly how the game is going to go. That's why I'm more annoyed today than I was yesterday. I wasn't even upset just because I knew what's going to happen. I knew we're not going to score, and Arsenal is going to score off a set piece, or they're going to scumbag a goal off a counter. And that's what happened. I also knew once we give up the goal, same against Newcastle, we're not going to get the goal back. When I see Timo get in the game and Johnson, there is no way we're going to get back. Our heads drop. There is nobody in the pitch to rally the troops. And I know Ange doesn't look like he's doing much on the sidelines and like Arteta, but I feel like he gives players the autonomy to police themselves. And I feel like the players should not be playing for the coach. They should not be playing for the fans. They should be playing for themselves. They should be self-policing on and off the pitch. And right now, we have no leaders to actually bring everybody in or together and say, hey, guys, step up your game. And I think I mentioned in the chat before, I can't believe I'm saying it, but yesterday I missed Højbjerg a bit. Not his skill set per se, not
the mentality.
He's not good enough to play, but the mentality. And the biggest difference is when him and Arteta were going at it, was it last year? You can see that image, versus Maddison and Arteta hugging each other and smiling. When I saw that, I mean, my blood started to boil. And that, I think, that's everything that's wrong with their club and with Maddison. I mean, I've had it with that guy.
Do you think in the case of Sonny and Maddison, they're just too nice, too much of nice guys as captains?
The whole team is too nice.
Yeah.
The whole team. But again, Sonny, he has years and years of service where, you know what, that's him. He does other things great. For Maddison, other than maybe 10 games last year, and I mean, that's what the Leicester fans were saying too. He's a front runner, right? He does great when things are good, then he gets hurt, and then when things are tough, he's nowhere to be found. And just I don't know.
What is the right solution, though, Eugene? Because you brought up another good point about Ange is more standoffish. He likes to allow the players to police themselves. But when we had Antonio Conte, he didn't allow that. He was more on top of them, and they absolutely hated it.
Yep.
So, you know, what is the right approach then, you know, going forward? You know, especially for Ange Postecoglou right now, the situation he faces himself in. Does he maybe need to change that and start policing the hell of a lot more?
I don't know. That's a tough one. I mean, I don't think he's going to change, right? Especially who we see with his tactics. He does things his way, and he's not going to change. So I think we just need the players, especially in the midfield to control those games. We need those personalities like Højbjerg, again, with a better skill set, but we're just missing those players. And that's been our issue for a decade, if not more. We had some great talents, some players with great skill sets, but we don't have players with a winning mentality.
Yeah.
Romero, I thought, was that guy, given the way he plays for Argentina. But again, for some reason, he just loses focus once a game or twice a game, and it keeps costing us. And
do you think he's checked out right now? Because, there's no excuse for him not picking up Gabriel at that corner set piece, because he's a threat going the other way, which shows he can rise, he can get his head on the ball, and he can be a bit dominant. But it feels like coming into this season, he's nowhere near the same player. Like, coming up to that Chelsea, all last season, everyone accused him of being rash. But bar that Chelsea game, apart from that, Romero actually had a pretty good campaign for us, especially on the ball and stuff like that. But this season, you could nearly attribute nearly every single goal towards him having that moment switching off. Do you think he is checked out with that interest from Real Madrid?
I don't think he's checked out per se. And again, he was the one who said before the season started that there was some interest shown in him, but he wanted to stay at Spurs. So I don't think he wants to leave at the moment. I don't think he's checked out. I just don't think he's that guy who we thought he was, right? For Argentina, I think there's a difference playing for Argentina and playing for Spurs, right? Argentina, they have Messi, they have leaders all over the pitch. He doesn't need to take that role or to be that guy, right? But on the Spurs, where we don't have that person, people and the fans count on him to be that guy. And I just simply think he's a very good player. He's not a world-class player. He's just a very good player. And he's not that guy. Makey could be that guy. I feel like there are more leadership qualities in Makey than in Romero. He just hasn't been here long enough to be vocal.
And he's actually quite young, I think, too. Isn't he only like 21?
Well.
Yeah.
22, yeah.
But this season has shown me that the Romero is just not that guy. Again, good player, very good player, but he cannot be the number one center back.
Yeah.
That's my opinion. I don't know. I'm just very down.
Great points, Eugene. Great points, honestly. Is there maybe, like you have a couple of minutes left, is there any, kind of talking points that you feel like you didn't get to get off your chest here? Is maybe something that you've heard someone else say?
Just disappointed. The worst thing is that usually when we lose, especially to Arsenal, I get really upset and, I get angry. Yeah. But yesterday, it was like the game was over and I just felt hollow and empty inside. It's kind of like, I'm not going to say I'm checking out, but it's all the enthusiasm that I had for the team before the season started. Right now, it's like, draining. We lost again. Yeah. I felt like under Jose and Conte at the very end. It's like, I'm not checking out, but I'm feeling myself. Just,
you know what?
I agree. I felt the same way yesterday.
And it's not like one thing. We're like, oh, it's Ange. We get a new manager, we'll be good. Or, it's the players. We get some players in. I feel like I'm checking out just because our issues are so big, as they always are. It's not one thing. And it's like, like, when are we going to overcome our problems? Yeah. It's never just one thing. It's Ange and him being stubborn. It's the players. It's Levy. It's the board. It's everything. And it's like every year is a Groundhog Day. And after a while, like right now, I'm just, I have no energy at this point. And it's only, game 4? I'm just like, oh my God, I don't know how I'm going to do this all year long. So,
do you know what? I think you've actually summed up many Spurs fans right there. And then this has been an absolute great call, Eugene. I've really enjoyed it. How would you feel about maybe doing a few pre-match build-ups here and there for us?
I'd love it. I appreciate it, boys. I'm having a great time talking to you.
I have his number, and we have him in the group chat, so we'll get you
anytime.
Appreciate
great call,
you.
Eugene. Great
man.
call.
I really
Thanks for your
this
patience
call.
as well. Thanks for your patience and great call, man.
But just last thing. Yesterday was crazy. So Spurs lost, my NFL team lost, my fantasy team lost, and the team that I coached lost as well. The high line that I'm trying to implement We got hit on the counter a couple of times. The boys were not listening, and I was arguing with the opposing coach, and so I just lost my head. So yesterday was not a good
this
day.
week
Bad
is better
weekend.
for you, man.
0 for
Yeah.
4. It was terrible.
Oh,
But look,
Jesus, bro.
Wednesday night, hopefully, you know.
Oh
put a
my
smile
God!
on your
If
face, man.
if we don't get the result against Coventry, I'm gonna stay off internet for maybe a month.
Ah,
And like
uh,
just last thing, I feel
funny.
like for Ange, it's a lose-lose, right? If he doesn't play the kids and we lose, we lost, we don't play the kids. If he does play the kids and we lose, how come you're playing the kids? Like,
Yeah, true.
anything other than the win, the fan base is gonna go nuclear. So.
Sounds
And
like
it
it's
has
more
to
of a
be-
must-win for you than it is even for Ange
Oh.
or Eugene. Looks like
For my-
you're at the limits.
Yeah,
right
exactly.
now. I don't blame you. I don't blame
Exactly.
you. Great call, man.
Well, big up,
All right, thanks,
Eugene.
boys.
You have a
Have a
good
good one,
rest of
brother.
your day, all right?
All right.
Have a good one.
See you guys.
Have a good one. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
That was
A lot of
funny.
people really enjoyed what Eugene had to say. I think he's got a lot of good things to say. I really enjoy speaking to Eugene. So big up for the time. And you know what? He even, he even put stuff off to sit here and take his time to speak to us. Really enjoy that. And I know a lot of you guys did too. So we'll get him on some pre-match build-ups in here and there and stuff like that. So big up,
Great
Eugene.
call.
Really appreciate your time. And by the way, we should have said this to everybody who's sitting here late waiting to come on now. Your patience as well. We really do appreciate that. So. Me and Jack, we've been all there before, joining fan shows and all that sort of stuff when we first started, and we know the patience it requires to wait. So I really do appreciate that. People loving Eugene. It's great to see. Absolute great to see. Let's keep this moving. Sammy boy, I believe, and then I think it's Adrian, and then I think Donovan. If you're still around, Donovan, please do let us know. I think I'm correct with if it's.
Yep. I think you had the correct. Yep. Sam, Adrian, Donovan, the last three.
Bring him on. Big up, Sammy boy. You're on mute. How are you keeping, sir?
I am. I'm ready.
Your mic is kind of a.
Sorry, Sam. You sound like an absolute robot there. If you want to log out and log back in, that'll probably solve the mic issue. Sometimes I get that when I'm sitting in the thing for a back end. We'll keep your spot for you. We'll give you another second. He'll do it very quickly. We'll just wait here for Sammy boy.
Yeah, I loved hearing Eugene's 4 losses over the weekend. That's hilarious. That was hilarious to listen to.
That's hard to take. I thought I had it bad yesterday at North London Derby and went to bed. Imagine I had what Eugene had. I probably wouldn't be here for the whole week, to be brutally honest. We're just
I wouldn't blame you.
Eugene. But Sammy boy, how are you, my man?
Can you hear me, lads?
Yeah, a lot better. A lot better.
Perfect. Yeah, as I was saying, I'm calm now, but I'm ready to work myself up. How are you guys keeping?
Yeah, not too bad.
Trying our best.
Well, as good as we can be. It's hard to take, when you lose to your rivals. But, I did start this. Don't worry, I wasn't ignoring it. He said, honestly, don't think it's the personnel, it's the system. Explain away, my man.
Well, I had a conversation I've got a lot of Gooner friends, unfortunately. Growing up like in a North London school, so it's tough. But my friend said, well, I just think Ange's game plan played into Arteta's game plan. And I said to him, well, I think you're wrong there, because I don't think Ange has a game plan. He's got a philosophy. And I think that's backed up by the fact that he said in one of his interviews or something, I don't tweak my system based on how we go, the teams that we're playing against. Whereas you're coming up against Arteta, and as much as I hate the guy, he does tweak his systems to basically get the best out of his team against certain individuals. Maybe, barring Man City, but not many teams do get the best out of Man City, right? So I did also say after this in the group that there is personnel issues. So I won't just say like, it's just the system, but I just think that, we come up against a low block every single game without fail, except for Man City, right? Or the occasional you come up against like Burnley under Vincent Kompany and they decide they're going to go for it, which made no sense, because if they'd played normally, they would have probably just got something against us. And so my point is, we have played against a low block so many times, and yet I'm still struggling to see where the progression is in terms of how to beat a low block, right? And I'm hesitant to say there's been no progression, right? Because I think we can all agree we're at there was a lot of games last season where we had a lot of the ball, but we actually weren't having any shots. So there's been positives to take from the beginning of the season. But I am concerned where we play a very attacking game, right? That is our game plan. We attack, as Ange said on the FIFA the FC 25 promo. If I could play 11 strikers, I would. Yeah. Can you guys name me, other than the Solanke one where he didn't actually get the shot away, and maybe Kulusevski breaking through in the box yesterday, and maybe Brennan Johnson as well slashing at it? Can you name me any clear-cut chances, even those ones I mentioned, other than the Solanke one where he didn't actually get a shot away? Like, no one-on-ones, and I know that's because we're playing against low block, but no one-on-ones and no chances where you really think the player has to score here, right? And
I would say
that
the
for me is
Solanke
a
one
big
he has to
concern.
score, and I would say a couple of the
I agree.
Johnson ones he has to score, to be honest.
I agree with Ellie, actually. I don't think that's an easy a chance for Johnson as people are making out. I think if it falls to Porro, I'm expecting him to blast that in, because that's the kind of goal that Porro likes to score. Look, maybe
should that not make it even easier for someone who's in the forward position? Then, if that's your right back, you expect to score. You should be expecting your forward area at least hit the target, let alone score.
Okay, yeah, I get that, and yes, he should have hit the target. However, I've said it before. I think Porro has some of the best on-ball ability in the league, let alone our team. Right? Like, that guy can strike a football.
Yeah.
So. Look, yeah, it fell to the wrong player. Even maybe Solanke bangs that in and gets that confidence, just without having to think, he just swipes at the ball. But you don't know. And personally, I understand Johnson's not doing all that we want him to do. He's clearly very low on confidence. I think it was Ryan was saying, he never comes inside, or when he does, you just know there's not really much happening. But yesterday, I actually feel like he was not the worst player on the pitch. And I actually think it's hard to figure out a worst or best player on the pitch, because I don't think that any player on either team had a particularly good game. But Johnson, again, and it's only moments, he did have moments where he did take Timber on, but Timber was just a better player, and that's kind of what we have to accept. We all know that Johnson isn't the man to take the club forward. He might develop into a better player. And I know that, we've beaten it to death, especially on Twitter, over how bad Johnson is. And again, I don't actually hate him. There are worse players out there than him. But we've seen a lot of shit over the years, right? And I think it was Pat on Last Word on Spurs last night was saying he listed like 15 players, like your Clinton and G's and all these players, and he's saying, I've seen so many of these young prospects being bought. When are we going to bring in a player like a Timber, like a Rice, like an Odegaard, like any of these players that, even Marino, that Arsenal are bringing in, where you're thinking, these players can come in and hit the ground running, and it all falls back on the failures of the window. And I know you guys agree with that. We didn't address the key positions that we needed to. And we're a couple injuries and suspensions away from being right back where we were last season, where we don't have the players to go forward. And we've sold key players. Well, I say key players, other people might not agree, but we've sold key players like Højbjerg. And, these players, even if they weren't starting and Ange didn't see them as the players to take us forward in the project, they had the mentality and they had the right attitude when coming off the bench to see out the games. And, Bissouma being injured yesterday, Bentancur getting a yellow card early on, agree or disagree whether you think it was a yellow card. I think the ref was very heavy on the yellows yesterday. We didn't have anyone to come off the bench. He clearly doesn't trust Gray or Bergvall to come on, or we would have seen them come on. And then who else have you got? You have to play Sarr in there, who I've said a few times now, I'm not really sure what Sarr offers other than his athleticism. So, yeah, that's kind of my overall point.
You know what? I agree with you about the bench and that, and this is what I was trying to highlight over the course of the summer. But people thought I was switching up on Ange Postecoglou, and I wasn't. What I was actually trying to do is I was trying to, back Ange Postecoglou by saying, hang on here, these aren't all his signings. We've had an underwhelming window, and I don't see where we've actually helped Ange help improve the situations that were apparent last season. And, that it would come back to haunt us somewhere along the line. I didn't think it'd be this early, but it already has, which is very, very frustrating. But Sam, let me ask you, my man, Coventry must-win game for Ange Postecoglou.
It's not just a must-win game; it's a must-score goals.
Yeah,
and show not just scoring goals, but also defensive stability. Because if we go in against Coventry, and look, all due respect to Coventry, they did very well in the FA Cup last season. They were a dodgy VAR call away from getting to the final. But they're not a Premier League outfit, and we're a top 6 team. We should be a top 4 team. We've allowed ourselves to fall further and further away from it. And I think that we need to have a statement win. And, rival fans might laugh at me for saying it's a statement win against Coventry, but we need it right now. We've got to stop the rot, as they say. Things are going bad. I know I'm being heavily critical of Ange and his system, but I do agree with you guys about not basically cutting our legs off before we even get to run, right? Because we're in this project and we need to back him. The only thing I would say about that is on the panel show the other day when we were talking about Lang and Paratici, you guys did say to me, we've backed a lot of people in the past. You've got to sort of be smart with who you're backing, and you can't give them too long. And look, it's only been a season, so I'm not saying it's been too long for Ange, but if things don't get better, and we still see the same things over and over again, sort of come Christmas time, January, then I would seriously be looking at the club to see what they're going to do with Ange, because things just aren't going well, and as I said, there is progression, but there's not enough progression, and with the team that we've got, we should be doing better.
100%.
No, 100%. You're very generous there, Sam. Some people wouldn't even give him to Christmas or January, but I agree with you. And look, no matter how much I like Ange Postecoglou, I stand by what I said. I've often said this myself, and a lot of the Ange Postecoglou fans get annoyed at me, but he's a man under pressure. It's a results-driven industry at the end of the day. After the results come, there's only so long you can stick by it for at the end of the day. But Sam, great call this evening, my man. I really appreciate your time.
Good to have you on, Sam.
We'll be getting a show out this week with you. We'll just either tomorrow or Thursday. I'll let you know.
All right, no worries. If it is Thursday, hopefully it's after an absolute thrashing of Coventry. At Madison home for hell, and they hopefully they never want to see him again.
Well, actually, he played for them, didn't he? So, it could be a return from Madison. I'd like to see Bergvall personally. Let's wait and see what happens, though. But Sam, great call as always.
Great call, sir.
Really enjoy your contributions, and we'll speak to you again soon.
No worries, guys. Take it easy. Come on, you Spurs.
Good evening.
Come on, you Spurs. Great call, Sam. Thanks for your patience.
Absolute great call there from Sam. Absolutely love that. Some good things to say. Bit of defense on Brennan Johnson. Let us know what you think about that in the comments, guys. But in general, I think he has a lot of good things to say there. Big up, Sam. Great call. And by the way, how good is Sam becoming, by the way? He's a great listen. But look, let's keep this moving. I think we are on to Mr. Adrian Brown next.
Yep.
Let's bring him on. Let's hear what he has to say. Good evening, Adrian. How are you, sir?
Hello.
Oh,
you might have us in the background. Appreciate that you're listening to us on 2 platforms.
Can you hear me first?
We can hear you, yes.
I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, all good. Hi, how are you doing all? I've been listening to everybody's on there. Lots of negative comments tonight, isn't it? Well, we knew it was going to come, didn't we?
Comes with the nature.
Yesterday. Let's see if we can put a bit more positivity spin on this, shall we?
Well, look, if you've got
select
one, give them to us. I'll happily take them.
I just can't hear you. That's the only problem. So I'll just carry on. But I think it's just through the studio and that. So I'll go through what my views are anyway. So yesterday, well, I think really we shouldn't really be too disappointed with the results. I know it's Arsenal and we hate them. Come on, we have to admit that. But yeah, it wasn't nice. But we did sort of manage to keep them with the game. You know what I mean? It could have been a lot worse, I think. But at the same time, our team was pushing all that time. It was the frustration of not seeing the final goals straight into that net. Everything else is all perfect. It's plonk, 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 and it's just that last final bit. I don't know why we don't go and hit towards the into the box. And we've got Solanke there. I know he's new and everything, but I think he was ready for a couple of shots and good take-on shots in there. I think we've got to take a little bit more risk. So that's where I'm going to go on that. So now looking at towards going on to Ange at the moment, I would say, well, we still got to give him time. It's only been one season. Come on, guys. We can't keep on, getting rid of our managers after one season. This is our fault. We don't like it. Oh, we're going to throw our dummies out of our prams and, it doesn't work. We need to give them a chance. And I'm not going to say Arteta. He's a fine example on this. He had 2 or 3 seasons so badly at Arsenal because he didn't have his right team. And we have to make sure he gets the right team involved here. And that's why we need to give him a couple of seasons. I would even give him another season. I know you lot are being very generous saying this season, and maybe I would give it to another. So, I've got my dad distracting me with
you're all good,
phone call going on at the moment, telling him to, if they can quieten the volume down. Anyway, but with Arteta, he had to take a couple of seasons to get there. And we need to do the same with Postecoglou. He hasn't got the full team there. I do feel with the senior players, they're not coming up to scratch. And they need to improve. And this is what I said at the beginning of the season. If you remember, just when we was looking at the pre-friendlies, I mean, the youngsters are doing so well, and we need to give them a chance to go in there. I want the youngsters to go into that team, and if they get that chance for that last 20 minutes, challenge the senior players for that position, because that's why it's so important, because you need to get them to be hungry again. I just feel there's no hunger there in the front. And I think they need to really be pushed, and they need to be pushed to find out that they need to know that their spot is not safe in that spot. I really got a really strong feeling with the younger team, and we need it in our team because we need speed. We need, the energy of running backwards and forwards. I mean, we got VDV. He was absolutely brilliant. In my opinion, he came back. There was some misses, but he's not perfect. He needs somebody to back him up. And Romero, there was a couple of times I thought, yes, that's why we got him. I don't think we should be too critical on Romero at the moment because he does, when he wants to go for that ball, he will challenge it. And when he loses it, he will do his damnedest to get it back again. And that's when I saw a couple of good moments, especially on the sideline when he was down in that corner there. I think it's Ellie was trying to overtake him, but he insisted to make sure he got that ball. So really, if it was me being Ange at the moment, I would give the youngsters a little bit more a chance in there. Challenge the seniors for their position. We need to be a bit more positive, guys, if we can. Support our team. It's been very depressing tonight. You just can't expect getting rid of a manager after one season. It's going to take a build. Now, otherwise, we're just going round in circles, and in circles. So I hope that I'll put a bit more of a positive spin in the video tonight. And we should be proud of ourselves. It could have been a lot worse. I really do believe that. It's just the fact. I mean, statistically, if you look on the statistic, I know people are saying, "Oh, yeah, but we can't." You've got to look at the statistics there. On the statistics, on the night, we were better. We're better in all our games. It's just so frustrating. We just can't put it in the net. And I understand it's all the results. and I totally appreciate that. But we've got to have faith in our team. So let's put things together, and hopefully we'll get there. We've just got to give them a bit more time, a bit more faith, guys. Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs. Absolutely love that. I know you can't hear us right now.
Yeah, I still can't hear you.
Tune in after, and I would love you to send in some fan cams to us after the games this season if you can, my man. So just come back in and listen, and you'll see what I'm saying.
Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, Spurs. Come on, Spurs. Absolutely love that. I know you can't hear us right now, but tune in after, and I'd love you to send in some fan cams to us after the games this season if you can, my man. So just come back in and listen, and you'll see what I'm saying. Absolutely.
Great job, Adrian.
Big up, Adrian.
Great job.
What a guy. What a call in there from Adrian. Absolute legend. Really like that guy. And you know what? Very nice to get a bit of a positive spin on it. So fair play, Adrian. Really actually do appreciate that. It's not easy in times like this. So really, really do appreciate that. And this guy has a lot of good things to say when he's available. He's a very busy boy. But I would like him to start sending in some fan cams. And by the way, what a guy, couldn't hear us, technical difficulties. This isn't his full-time gig or anything like that. And he just goes, found a solution and went with it. We absolutely love that. So big up to Adrian.
Went on a solo run. That's always good to see. Made our job a lot easier as well. Absolutely great job by Adrian.
What a hero.
And thanks for your patience as well, Adrian, if you're still listening to us. Thanks for your patience and waiting your turn and everything. And would love to have you on for future streams. And like Dave said, please send in those fan cams. Great work.
And I love the fact that the patience he's willing to give Ange, he's even willing to give him next season. So, but what I will say, Adrian, results have to start coming our way very quickly. So hopefully that is the case, my man. Absolutely great call. Donovan Oosterreicher, are you there, my man?
Yeah, he's popping in and out. Big Donovision. Want to end off with the Donovan.
We'll get you on straight away.
Give him maybe a minute or two. It looked like he was in here for half a second, and then he
popped in and he left again.
Yeah. Tough one.
We'll give him another minute.
Yeah.
If you can't hear us, Donovan, just put you just press any button on your phone and send it into the chat so we know at least you're here and listening. If not, not sure what we can do. We'll give him another minute, guys. Like I said, we'll give him another minute.
What are you having with the Indian, Dave? What's your Indian food of choice for tonight after this show?
Do you know what, right? I'm trying to avoid takeaways and stuff like that because I am trying to lose weight. But the missus is sick, and
it's hard after the fan show when you're on for 3 hours straight too. It's hard to want to cook.
Well, that's the thing, usually the missus does a lot of the cooking for me and helps me out and stuff. But she's sick, and I don't really want to put her under that pressure today. So I said, I'll take the pressure off you. I'll sort myself out. And after the fan show, it's like, what, 10:30 now. So by the time I start cooking, you're probably thinking 12:30 by the time I sit down and eat it. So I said, look, I'll get something a little cheeky. So I got a chicken korma, half rice, half chips with a bit of naan bread.
Nice.
Nice. So that'll suit me nice now this evening. What are you having, Jacko?
I made myself, I think it was Stefan Blois in the comments who said something like, the reason I really love these fan shows is because he says it provides me better therapy than just drowning pints, while being surrounded by Gooner fans, or something in the pub. And I was like, and he says it's great therapy. And I was like, my therapy last night was like what everyone else was saying. I completely removed myself. I canceled all my plans, just sort of wanted to be alone basically for the whole day. And so I just drowned pints while just cooking myself some tacos. And I'm probably going to do the same after today. I'm going to go on a run with a friend, and then, which I actually never do. I never really run with anybody else because I struggle to be able to run while talking. I think that's really pretty hard to do.
Yeah.
And I'll probably struggle with that today.
It's not worse when you're out running or
you're already out of breath.
Time, by the way, but I used to be running. When someone's
breathing
running
is already hard enough.
Trying to talk, you're like, I can barely breathe. Please shut up.
Yeah, exactly. Breathing's hard enough, and then holding a conversation while running is even more difficult. So I'll try my best, but then I'm going to probably just finish the rest of the meat that I bought in order to make the tacos so it doesn't go bad or anything, and just kind of have something similar again. But it looks like Donovan, I feel like that would be a shame if we missed him because he was in here for practically the whole time. And then right at the end there, maybe, I know he's probably at work or something. Maybe something came up.
Let me see if I have a message off him. If I don't, there's only so long we can hold out as well. because he hasn't even put in the chat to say that he can hear us. Maybe his phone has gone dead or something. I'm not sure. I've not an off him either. What we'll do is, I think, because like I said, I don't know if he's listening or not. I think what we'll do is if we'll give him first spot next week, to make up for it, because I don't really know what to do. I don't like Donovan, he's waited for so long, to come on and stuff like that. And I don't really want to be a bit of a dick, and end the show and stuff like that. But it's only so
there he is. I was just going to say, I was going to stall for a little bit longer and say that we were really missing Brad Matthews tonight, and we also missed Paul Connor tonight. Big love to them. I just saw that they messaged us in the group chat, and we'll get back to you guys. But sorry we couldn't have you on for these 2 shows, Brad Matthews and Paul Connor. We really did miss you guys tonight, and would have loved to have your guys' opinions. But thanks for the support you guys show us. Donovan, you're here with us.
Yeah, sorry for keeping you guys waiting. My phone just died on me, so...
That's okay. Man. That's what we figured happened. And you were waiting a long time on us, man. You were being very patient. So we were like, damn, this would suck for you not to be able to get on. Sir, take us through it, man. It's a tough one.
Yeah, we'll keep it short and sweet. I won't say anything that hasn't been said yet. Like, it just totally unacceptable from the club. I'm not even pinning it on anybody because it's the club, top to bottom, allowing our biggest rivals ever to defeat us 3 times at our brand new stadium, which was supposed to bring us this huge pinnacle of success and supposed to be this wealth generating machine that hasn't even produced anything on the first team, because I don't know where any of this wealth is going. It's really annoying to see Arteta completely outclass us. But yeah, no, it's just a disappointing day, and I'm not going to harp on Ange too much. But questions have to be asked. You can't allow that to happen. I told you guys beforehand, in my opinion, of Ange. I was going to let it kind of fester a bit and give you guys my opinion after the North London Derby. And I'll be 100% honest with you guys that I was very disappointed. I was very let down, and it's and now questions are being asked that I never thought I'd want to ask. On tactics. On players. Yeah. It's so frustrating to watch Brennan Johnson constantly run down that wing. I love the kid from the moment we signed him, but it's like the guy couldn't even score in a brothel, man. It's ridiculous. Yeah. It's whatever, man. But I did. Sorry, what's that, Davo?
So just quickly, how much longer do you give things then to try and turn in the right direction, Donovan? We're getting mixed sort of answers. Some people would say they give Ange to the end of the season. Adrian said next season as well. Sam said, Christmas. Some people are saying Coventry. How long do you give them?
I'll just address this comment because it's pretty funny. I think, absolutely. And that's probably the most unforgivable thing too, man, is that you're hiding in a North London Derby. It's like yesterday when we got smashed up, my team too, and it's like our six hit the whole time, and it's like you can't hide in these big games because it's so easy to be a passenger in football, right? Just hop on the bus and just let it take you to where it needs to go. But you have some cojones, have some ability to have some balls to just take the scruff by the big of the neck. You come out like you said, Davo. You come out and say this is the biggest game of the season. We know what it means to the fans. Well, that's bullshit because you just rolled over. You didn't score a goal. You didn't look like scoring a goal.
Yeah.
Yeah. But to answer your question there, Dave, how long do we give Ange? Well, he said he wanted 3 transfer windows. He's got 3 transfer windows. He said he wins something in his second season. Well, let's give him this season then, because if you don't win anything, you're gone. Because you said it. You put the pressure. You put pressure on yourself, man, by saying that. And it's so annoying having the guy double down on everything he says. And it's like, yeah, I get you have to have a bit of an ego. Yeah, I get you have to have a bit of trust. And to be at that level of the game, you have to have some belief and self-confidence. But you're just digging yourself a hole. You're just digging yourself a hole if you can't back it up.
What I would say, and it's something that I'm actually going to touch on the pre-match build-up, because I do see a lot of outrage by it, and I can understand it. But I think if we were to have maybe a different perspective on it, I think it's nice that he's saying this is what he wants and this is what he believes we can achieve, rather than under Jose and Conte, where in fairness is one thing I didn't like about their tenures was, they were always telling us why we couldn't achieve, to lower expectations and stuff like that. So, I do get the frustration, and especially the time and the moment that it's in, right? It's wrong time and poor, stuff like that. But I do think it is refreshing in that sort of regard.
Oh, don't get me wrong, David. Like, the club was broken when he inherited it. It's like you buy a car off marketplace, and he doesn't tell you the alternator's gone. He doesn't tell you that the serpentine belt's gone, and he goes in, and next thing you know, you're $4 or $5 grand in the hole because you're fixing up somebody else's mistakes. True. He had a broken philosophy from the top to the bottom. There was no direction in the club, right up from the youth, right up to the scouting model. He's fixing it. So yeah, you got to give the guy some leeway, but there are some must-win games, and there are games you can't lose. And the North London Derby at home is a not-lose game, especially in the position our club is in, right?
Yeah.
And the biggest thing for me is that now that I had time to think about it, lads, is that like, yeah, I get like what Michael was saying, that you have a philosophy, right? You don't have tactics, you don't have systems and 6s and 9s and 10s, whatever. It's a philosophy that it's constant. We don't stop. Whether it's right or wrong, we play our game, and that eventually is going to excel above the opposition if we keep working at things. But Arteta had a game plan when he came out. He's going to play his Arsenal game. He's going to press up from the back. He's going to build up from the back. Once he realized that he couldn't bypass that high press, 20 minutes in, he switched it up. He sat back. He let us have the ball. He realized, that's already been said earlier, that nobody had aerial presence in the box other than Solanke and Romero, and you mark those guys down. Well, we can do 20 touches on the wing, 400 passes in the back. Who cares? It's not going to threaten the goal. He adapted mid-game and was able to read the situation and totally nullify us. Made us look so impotent in front of our 60,000 fans. And another thing, too, is he's got a support staff that can help him. He's got proper people behind him making his job easy. When Ange turns around, who does he got? He's got bloody Ryan Mason behind him to tell him to whip the cross in without looking, like or speed up the play. It's like, I get sentiment, and I get that you have to respect, and there's certain levels of football that aren't taught on the pitch, and it's more of a mentality thing. But man, if we don't at least go rock up to the Emirates this season and do something, or we don't go far in a cup, or if we don't win the Europa League, man, it's just spelling the end of something, another project. And so
100%. And it comes back to what Eugene says, that you see what's going on now, the likes of fans snapping at reporters, fans, getting up in a tissy and stuff like that. You see the way the players are behaving on the pitch. It does signal, like it did under Conte, like it did under Jose, that the end of it, really. I hope I'm wrong. I hope Eugene's wrong. But look, I completely agree. And at the end of the day, results have to start coming thick and fast.
And that's the biggest thing, like you said, Davo. Like football is such a changing game, where it's like 1 minute you're on the top of the mountain, 1 minute you're bottom, right? And so he comes out, has a convincing result against Coventry, maybe has a good January. And that's one thing, a saving grace I'll leave with him, is that he did come out in the press about a while back when they asked him about how his summer transfer window went. And I think he was alluding to maybe not Brennan Johnson, but maybe Brennan Johnson, when he said, out of 11 signings, 8 of them might work out. 4 of them aren't going to fit the system. I think he's alluding to, maybe he got himself wrong. Maybe he did get a Brennan Johnson wrong. Maybe he isn't having the impact that he thought he would. Or maybe he's having a harder time to struggle. He's just having a struggle to adapt, because the poor lad, he's a kid. He didn't ask for his price tag. He's getting abused. He's getting deactivating his Instagram account, right? So if you're not good enough, you're not good enough. Now we have to rectify the mistake. And so you have to have patience. You have to have a belief in something. You can't keep chopping and changing. I totally get that. But the biggest thing that helped Klopp and Arteta and Pep during these processes is that they showed concrete signs of evidence of progression with trophies. But he won an FA Cup in his first season. He brought him right to the final. Klopp brought him right to the final that first season. Arteta won how many FA Cups? I don't even know. It's like, now it's time to almost like just shut up and perform. And so I'm willing to give him the season. I'm not Ange out by any means, but I'm allowed to ask questions after getting humiliated in a North London derby.
Absolutely.
So
great talking points, Donovan. I just also want to add to something that you said, that I feel the exact same way. I'm very much still with Ange, but there are games that he needs to win in order to at least retain some type of confidence from either the fan base or even his own sets of players. And he has lost certain games very badly, may I add, that I feel like he needed to get a result there, like the Chelsea game in the, not the first one, but the second one. We got absolutely demolished by Chelsea. And there's some other really big, like he lost to West Ham twice, both at home and away from home. There's some games that he has lost that I don't think he should have, because if you do lose those games, you will lose confidence from the fan base and you will lose confidence from your own sets of players. And I know some people might have more confidence in Ange or won't lose their faith in them, but I think you have to be honest with yourself. There's only so much patience a team or a fan base can have when you lose this many North London derbies, when you lose to West Ham twice, when you lose to Chelsea twice in games like that. Like, and he's lost too many of them. Whereas guys like even Ten Hag, I said earlier, Ten Hag has won trophies when no one would have expected him to, but he did win those trophies, and that kept his job for the most part. And I think Ange needs to try to do something similar, where he needs to start winning some of these must-win games, no matter how he does it. He just needs to do it. And if he doesn't, then it's a results-based business.
But can I just add something to that? Can I just add? Yeah, you two, the guys. Like, honestly, 3-hour show, almost going on 4 hours. I know Dave's got a big meal ahead of him. Like, I'm really like that's too stoked. And thanks for leaving me.
I wouldn't recommend it to you in the middle of your football season, so don't get any ideas.
Yeah. Sorry, what did you say that, Dave? What were you having there?
Oh, I was having a chicken korma with fried with rice, chips, and naan bread. I said I wouldn't recommend it for you in the middle of a footballing season.
Yeah. But what I was saying with Jack there is that, you can't lose those games. Go out and lose the games, Jack. Go out and lose to your rivals that we haven't beat at Stamford Bridge. Go out and lose at Anfield because we haven't won there in 15 years. I don't care. But it's the manner of the defeats. You look so impotent. I'm just calling up that Chelsea game because you reminded me there, Jack. It looks so pathetic how we try to attack that game. And don't get me wrong. There are moments of the game where in the second half versus Arsenal, this last game, this North London derby, we look like the ascendancy. We look like we were taking the team. We looked like there was only a couple moments away from scoring a goal. I was confident. I was rubbing my hands with glue. I was like, okay, here we go. Let's go. Let's do it. That Gabriel goal was a sucker punch because we were building up a lot of positive momentum. We were getting a lot of odd man rushes. It was great. But when you have the likes of Johnson whipping in the ball, or you have the likes of Johnson running as fullback, it's just like, lad, I talked to that one chance there. It's no point of harping on a dead horse here, but that one chance where he gets played through there. Like, I'm a pretty good soccer player. I'm not professional, but at least I could make the goalie work in that situation. I could kick it right at Rhea. Exactly. Any one of us three on the screen right now could have launched that into Rosette.
At least get it on target.
But it's even the same with his crossing. He doesn't make the fullback work. You never see the fullback at full stretch to block a Johnson when he's coming down that side, ever. When Johnson crosses the balls, he makes it easy. He just balloons it straight off the guy in front of him. He doesn't put any whip on it. Doesn't, move the ball half a yard to create a bit of space to be able to get that bend on it. He just balloons it off the guy in front of him. And that's my biggest issue with him. It's the same when he's in front of goal. He doesn't know how to, create that half a yard or whip a ball around the player. And, he just panics. He strikes me as a player that absolutely panics when he's in them situations. He's really becoming frustrating. But it's the same with Brennan Johnson. It's the same with Ange Postecoglou. People can sit there and go, unwavering support. You got to get behind it. You can't turn on them, this, that, and the other. At the end of the day, it's performances and results that bring the faith, nothing else. But Donovan, absolute great call. You've been on fire this evening, my man, and I appreciate the wait as well.
Cheers, Blad. And and to the fans, guys, it's like it's not negative, because it is a negative in a way, because there are some things in life that are unexcusable, right? And you have to look back and reflect. And the only way you improve in any aspect is hard truths. And that's all we're asking. It's not even Ange, it's the club, it's the players. Just take a look at yourself, put things right against Coventry, that's all we can do. Is look forward to the next game, lads. And yeah, thanks for the patience, guys. Thanks for having people on. Like
Thanks for your patience.
it's like two therapists right now, right? It's like what are the things going to say
You
today,
even
man?
inspired me at the end, Donovan. Great call, man. Like you got me. Like even towards the end of the show, I'm riled up once
Do
again.
another
You
2
know,
hours
honestly,
now.
great points. Could go another 2 hours. Great job, man. And best of luck with your team. Hopefully you get some results, man. I'm sorry that you lost over the weekend. That sucks. And you know, hopefully you have a better week. But appreciate you, man. Great call, brother.
Yeah, we'll see you guys again next weekend, and maybe
same time next week.
Yeah, same time next week, guys. Okay, take it easy.
Big up,
See you, man.
Donovan. Take it easy,
See you,
man.
man.
Have a good day. Bye bye. Absolute great call from Donovan. They're absolutely on fire. A lot of the guests were, if not all of them, on fire.
Yeah, all of
tonight.
them.
So everyone's amped up, charged up, and I do not blame them. What I will say is, to the players, to Ange, to the club right now, the fans have had their full. It's up to you to deliver and put it right Wednesday night. Let's hope you can do that. Jack, anything you want to say before we end off?
No, honestly, like you said, Dave, in fact, so many good calls. Like so many great talking points that I would steal from so many of you guys, like really great points. And everyone felt very on it today. And, you know, really great passion from everybody as well. That was shown. Really good, deep thinking, you know, really thinking about the problems. And also a wide range of opinions, but I think all, you know, expressed in a really good way. So a great fan show under probably not the best of circumstances, but an amazing fan show.
Nah, it was a good one. I enjoyed this. I enjoyed it. So, and you know what? Lots of people sort of different talking points or different avenues, which we appreciate, by the way. So thank you very, very much. I appreciate everybody that's decided to tune in today, everyone that's decided to participate, join us, and everyone that's, you know, been in the comments, getting your thoughts in. Really do appreciate it. You know, this is absolutely nothing without all of you guys. So thank you very, very much. And then thank you to the people that have gone the extra mile today. The regular, Georgie Hill, Paul Markey, Donovan Oosterreicher, Adrian Chia, Artist T, Iceman, Jason Bell, Jacob Anderson, Peter, Moondog, Chris Peters, Dermotron, Faz Radfar, and Jerome. Really appreciate all the support, everybody. Means an absolute lot. Look, hopefully now that could be end of the North London Derby defeat, and for the next day or two, we can focus on Coventry, because my brain cannot take much more of losing, and you know, it's really hard. But guys, I'm off to have an Indian. I'm watching the new Bob Marley movie, One Love.
Nice.
So hopefully it inspires us.
Love it. Have a good one. Thanks, everybody. Come on, you Spurs.